Yeah.
I'm the worst one. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our regular council meeting of August 28th. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. And just like to remind everybody that this is a regular business meeting of council. When we have public hearings, we actually will have a large venue perhaps if we need it because of the large numbers of people. And also in a public hearing, people get to speak. We ask 3 times, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of times could be hours doing it. As you know, we've had some big public hearings. So this evening, we have to recognize we are having a public hearing early. And so anybody that wishes to speak to that, and I'll be dealing with that later, need to be able to be allowed to come forward to the mics, etc. So call the meeting to order, and council adopt the minutes, and motion to adopt the minutes of August 14th, regular council and the special council meeting, please. Councillor Peak, Councillor Holmes, all in favor? Thank you. Carried. Okay, we have to 2.2, approval of our public hearing report. Someone bring that motion forward, please. Councillor Peak, you'd like to read it out, please.
That the public hearing report dated August 14, 2017.
Be adopted.
Is that the one? I'm on the right one. Adopted.
Yeah.
2017 be adopted.
Okay, Councillor Holmes, you were seconding, were you? Yeah. All in favor? Passed, thank you. None opposed? Okay, resolution to adopt tonight's agenda, 3.1. Do we have any amendments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, there are no amendments to the
Okay.
agenda. Thank you.
Okay, motion to adopt tonight's agenda, please. Councillor Traynor, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving on to public hearing. To call the public hearing to order for the official community plan amendment for Nixon Road. Mr. Strachan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As noted, the official community plan amendment and rezoning application for 5418 Nixon Road. The application is to redesignate the property and rezone the property in order to allow for a 22-lot single-family subdivision of the property. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Do you have any correspondence relative to this?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we have received 5 pieces of correspondence that were circulated to council this morning, and they are forming part of the public record.
Yes, I'm going to. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to read the public hearing statement. This public hearing is being held pursuant to Section 465 of the Local Government Act. During this public hearing, anyone who believes that his or her interest is affected by the proposed development will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaws that are the subject of this hearing. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received concerning the subject bylaws have been made available to the public. Council may ask questions of staff in public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. Council debate on the bylaw will take place when the bylaw is considered after the conclusion of the public hearing. At that time, any questions of staff will be for clarification only. I will be inviting the public to come forward and present their comments. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record. Speakers are encouraged to limit their remarks to 5 minutes and should include all the relevant information in their presentation. Further opportunity will be afforded for all persons to speak a second or third time once all persons have had an opportunity to speak. I guess we've jumped ahead here. I would now ask the Director of Development Services to introduce the first item, which I already did.
Yes.
Is there any further explanation of that required at this point? Okay. So I'd like to ask for the first time, is there anybody in the public who would like to present their views on this subject? Yes, go ahead, please.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Buxton. I live at 1712 Harding Street. I want to talk just quickly about the process. A couple of years ago, there was a previous council. There was a public hearing about Lighthouse Landing. And at that hearing, the controversy was about subdividing the lots to include RSD1. Most people were not opposed to the developer developing his lot, but we're hoping to limit it to RSD2. And there were about 4 out of 5 people, it's crowded like this, that were opposed to the development proposal. What was interesting, though, was that the developer submitted information that suggested things that were actually not true or haven't been borne out to be true. One of them was speakers that talked about having affordable lots for the first time in Summerland, and RSD1 would allow that. Now, I might be wrong, but I think RSD1 lots in Lighthouse Landing are at least $299,000 or more. I wouldn't consider that affordable necessarily for families. The other thing that bothers me was that the developer promised to enhance, or rather to replace and maintain the green space that was along Powell Beach. And if anybody's been down to Powell Beach lately, it's a freaking disgrace. It's 2 years now, so we can't blame it on the flood. They promised to maintain most of the trees. I think there's 2 left. But basically, it's a mess. So then the point was, we're talking 2 lots here, and the mayor exclaimed, "It's 2 lots, people," which in my opinion could have been said just as easily to the developers. It's 2 lots. They look very diligently for precedent in Trail Creek for RSD1. They had the map up, but couldn't actually find one. At the end of the day, despite 4 out of 5 submissions opposing it, council passed it unanimously. Now, we know what happened to that council. And then not many months after that, a new council, this council, was elected, and there was another development, the one that's across from the Esso station. And there were a number of people that came to that one too, saying, okay, development's fine, but try and keep it in keeping with what Trail Creek's all about. And here we go with the RSD1 lots again. The argument that it brings in tax revenue and it might save the schools, no arguments there. Those are solid arguments. But again, despite the fact that most people there were opposed to it, council unanimously approved the development proposal. So I guess rhetorically, I'm kind of wondering, what's the point of public hearings when council's already made up their mind? And and I guess my second, maybe not rhetorical question is, and I'm not speaking to this developer because I don't know what this developer is promising, but when a developer promises things or indicates things that turn out to be not true or don't follow through on it, what's the accountability to council to hold them to account? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'd just like to address the audience as a whole. When we're having people speak, they're going to speak and say what they need to say, but I don't want to hear clapping and additional material, or that, as a matter of fact. Thank you very much. Just would like to be able to keep the meeting going along smoothly. Thank you. Next, please.
Thank you. My name is Pamela Cormio, and I reside at 1108 Wharf Street, so directly across from the proposed development at 5418 Nixon Road. The plan for this development, as we know, includes 22 lots under an RSD1 zoning. This is a density that I would argue is not in keeping with the composition of the neighboring properties in this area. The proposed RSD1 zoning would also allow for the potential of an even greater number of homes than the proposed 22 to be built in this space. We have witnessed this at Lighthouse Landing when another lot has been severed, sold, and developed. In the proposal, the discussion maintains that the proposed residential family subdivision would fit with the development format of the area. The only RSD1 zoning in Trout Creek has been in recent developments at Trout Creek Meadows, as we've referred to at the top of Johnson Street, and also at Lighthouse Landing in Powell Beach, which is a mix of RSD1 and RSD2. So I would like to submit this, but this is actually a piece of the zoning section of the area around where we live in Trout Creek, and those are indeed the only RSD1 in the area. The bulk of Trout Creek remains at RSD2 and RSD3. I would prefer RSD2 zoning for this property. However, if it is to stay as an RSD1 zoning, I would like council to assure us that there could possibly be a restrictive covenants placed on the property to limit the numbers of the homes that are placed on this land use. The inconsistent roof lines, style, and size variations at Lighthouse Landing have made for an unsightly mishmash of random structures that deter from the composition and character of Trout Creek. I am concerned that this will be repeated in the proposed development without building guidelines and restrictions put in place. There is no green space, no walkthrough or pedestrian paths indicated on the plan that I have seen that was made available to us. Access to Wharf Street to the subdivision adds increased traffic congestion to an already busy thoroughfare, both off of Wharf Street directly and at the intersection of Highway 97 and Wharf Street above us. A recent increase in speed traffic along that area has already created a local traffic concern. An increase in traffic volume is a real concern for pedestrians and vehicles both in our neighborhood. And I reiterate, how can the Trout Creek community be assured that the municipal government of Summerland will enforce the requirements of the current proposal? Several components of the Lighthouse Landing development as proposed were not adhered to. The Johnson Street widening and paving was done substandard. It's not straight, it's uneven, it's cracking, and it's weed infested. A tree was removed without due process that I'm aware. I actually saw it being removed at 6 o'clock in the morning by a crane to make way for the building of a home on a lot that was not part of the original plan that was presented at the public hearing. This extra lot was incorporated after that meeting and was not part of that original proposal. And I agree wholeheartedly, the vegetative border that was to have been planted at Powell Beach is virtually non-existent and not maintained. I am not in opposition to the land use of this space. However, I think many issues arise from the current plan as it's proposed.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishes to speak? Oh, sorry, Jim. Go ahead. I was still in the first number of people. Go ahead.
Mayor and council, council members. I was one of the ones that sent the correspondence to them, and that the earlier made mention of. And I'm going to read it because otherwise I don't think it'll be very good. I do not think this notice of public hearing should be taking place at this time. This is a $10 to $15 million value OCP and a zoning amendment. The signage on this property is inadequate, small, and not informative. The signage does not tell the public what is proposed. The notice of public hearing sent to the neighboring properties is inadequate. The 8.5 by 11-inch page the District of Summerland sent used a quarter of the space available. You certainly could have informed everybody a lot more than that. The important image on the neighborhood properties and what the proposed 22-lot subdivision would look like is missing. It is a blank square. The notice of public hearing in the Summerland Review is fairly similar, just shrunk down that much more. Why did the developer not have to have a public informational meeting to inform the citizens of the plans? Why did the developer not need to put a billboard signage on the property? This is really, really common. In fact, the 41 years I've been here, that's all I've ever seen. And I did some developing. I feel like things are being hidden from the public awareness of this OCP and zoning amendment. Please delay the public hearing, make it possible for the public to be fully informed of what is taking place in the proposed OCP and zoning amendment. This development will affect a great many people for a lot of years. The second part is talking about the OCP and zoning amendment side of it, not the public hearing. You think it should be going forward the way it's presented? Because if what you said before, after this goes through, the talking's over. You feel informed, and can I ask it? If the public feels informed?
It's hard to say. We've done the required process for posting and et cetera, Jim.
This is public hearing, so.
Yeah. We're just receiving the input from the public right at this moment, yours included. There will be time for debate later.
Council will debate.
Council will be debating this later in this evening.
Yeah, but this is the public hearing to an informed public because of the signage is on the roads and what's there. Why wasn't there a billboard put out there and the developer put the whole image on there and compare it? Like we've seen in a map there. It's the zoning that's proposed here. It's not very many years ago that the developer that started that area and that was at 1,000 square meters is the minimum of the size of the lot. Then a short time after that, then it went down to 650, and now it's going down to, as proposed, at 460. It's absolutely ridiculous. But it's my opinion. But anyway, letter number 2 sent to council. For the developer to request a change of zoning to residential lot zone RSD1 is just totally inconsiderate for the larger area and especially neighboring properties. 22 potential lots on a possible of 44 housing units with the carriage houses and bed and breakfasts with this zoning. Can you imagine 50, 60 or more vehicles parked around this area? The minimum lot width is 6 meters, approximately 39 feet.
Jim, I'm going to have to ask you
Or
to
2
wind
car
up.
lanes.
I'm going to have to ask you to wind up. You'll get an opportunity to speak again if you wish after everybody's had an opportunity. Okay, we've had
Thank you.
5 minutes, but you do have an opportunity afterwards. Next, please. Thank you.
Hi, Peter Cormio, 1108 Wharf Street. I'll make this simple. 22 lots is too many. Everywhere else, I did all the calculations of which in their form they sent us. Some of the math is incorrect. We think there should be 14 to 16 at the most. There's no green space included in their diagram. If you put the diagram up of their plan, the road that goes through there looks a little bit narrower than what we're normally accustomed on the streets. There's no green space. There are no walkways. What preventive measures are you going to put in to make sure that they don't put in extra lots? That was done at Lighthouse Landing. They put more lots in, and it wasn't in the initial plan. RSD1 does not fit in with the composition of Trout Creek. The speed on the highway has been changed to 70. How are we going to get out there? There's going to be more people. Are we going to need lights? Has this gone through the Department of Highways or whoever has to talk to it? At the top of Wharf Street, years ago, there was a development that was proposed for a hotel and a restaurant. This hotel and restaurant was approved. The developer then ended up turning it into an RV lot. How can we be sure that this isn't going to happen, that something else is going to be changing, and we're going to get more homes in there? Now, the enforcement of short-term rental units. How are you going to take care of this area being used as summer rentals? You know, it increases the transient population, and unfortunately, this transient population causes an increase in crime in our area, and we don't want it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in this first wave of speakers? I'm asking for a second time. Would somebody like to come forward and speak to this issue, please? Oh, go ahead. Is that the first wave?
My name is Grant Taylor. I own a lot right next to this property, a lot that I had planned on building my retirement home. If this was to go ahead, I certainly wouldn't speak there. I developed the Britton Road property. And when I did that 12 years ago, this gentleman was right. I had to have quarter-acre lots, which I wanted, 1,000 square feet, a nice wide road, and if anybody would like to go and have a look at this, I've been complimented many times. It's one of the nicest streets in Trout Creek. There was a scheme of how things had to be built, and it came out very well. At that time, the property to the north of me, when it first came out to have the smaller lots, everybody in Trout Creek got a notice, enough people came out, and it was stopped. It was done again, only they only notified people within 300 feet of the proposal. Not enough people knew about it to come out and put a stop to it. And now I feel that there's just going to be an ugly mess down there. It's not what Trout Creek is. I'd like to see put up on the board the community plan that was made up all through the time spent with me and other people who were on the civil service at that time, and show what was going to happen. The road was going to go through, and the lots would have been similar size. It would be a very attractive place, is what I think most of the people in this room want. And I would appreciate if council would consider keeping Trout Creek as it is. And the type of neighborhood you're thinking about, where you're not going to be able to provide the facilities, the transportation and everything, bring it back uptown here, where it should be, where it should have been where the police station was, places like that. That's the type of buildings that belong there. I think this should come back again to another meeting at a later date where more discussion can go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Mayor, Council, staff, Sharon Mansier from 4416 Williams Avenue. I wasn't planning to talk to this issue tonight. I'm here for another issue. But I can see, it's difficult for council. We often come here, we're often saying things that you put us at odds with you. But I think what's interesting about what's been said so far is there's a common ground here. I don't think people are saying don't develop. And I think that's a real turn. Yeah, I think that council wants this developed. I think that the town wants this developed. I think Trout Creek is okay with this being developed. Of course we love it not, but this is where we're at. So I just want council to relax. That's a big step. That's a huge step. However, the points of this isn't the area where densification makes sense. You know that I'm going to get up and talk about that, those of you who know me. We don't have resources down there. Now, do I want a mall and a grocery store down there? No. However, a town densifies where those resources are. RSD1 simply does not make sense where you don't have resources, because you're planning for them to have multiple cars. Everybody's got a boat these days, and I don't know how many, whatever. I mean, I'm no better, right? But you can't plan this district. I'm loath to see what Lighthouse Landing is going to look like when all the boats and cars are in there. There isn't room for them. Where are they going to go? They're going to park in well, they're going to be able to watch their cars parked at Powell Beach parking lot is what they're going to do. They're going to be parking there, and they're going to be able to keep good sight of them. And I love that people brought up the issue that it's been a challenge for council that happened, that vegetation didn't get reproduced. And I remember Peter Waterman saying, we need that. You were the only lone voice on that. And, you hear tonight that we're worried. We're worried that what gets said, what gets promised, there's no stick. So we have to be very vigilant at this step because there is no later step. So I think that the RSD1 is a misfit for this district. It has been with Treffry. It's as close to the highway as almost you can get. I could almost stomach it for the one side of Treffry, almost, because up against the highway I could see that the developer had to make their money. But this lot does not have any of that constraint. So I think that, although I didn't plan to come to speak to this issue, I hope you are okay with me stepping up and pointing out the common ground. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi there, my name's Mike Pleasance from 1508 Britton Road, and I just want to echo what Jim said about there not being enough information and not being readily available. I came here, and when the overhead flashed up for the 4 or 5 seconds it was up there, that was the first time I saw what the plan was. And based on the signage on the property, there was no reference of where to go to get that information. I looked at what was in the agenda for tonight, and that was the one page that had the one blank rectangle that doesn't say anything what's in there. So for me coming here, I was hoping to get information, but I'm not in a position where I can really provide any feedback because I don't know what's being discussed. From what I've heard so far, it looks like there's not any walkway plan going through from Britton Road through to Nixon, which would be very disappointing for us because that's how our kids get to school every day, and it's there's no reason not to put a walkway through there. Same with issues of now I've seen where the road's going to go, and I'm certainly happy to see that it's a crescent rather than going straight through to Nixon. But like I said, there's been no time for me to process the information of what's been proposed and to formulate an articulate response. So I just echo what Jim said, and I think we need more time to see what's proposed, more time to look at what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, and I think that we really do need another public hearing on this where more people from the area can have all the information to provide better feedback to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Next. Okay, and asked for a third time. Is there anybody that would like to address this topic, please? Okay, seeing none, we will move ahead. I'd like to ask council
Mr.
for a
Mayor?
motion. Pardon me?
Jim, I don't know Jim's last name,
Oh, I'm
but
sorry,
he said
yeah.
he had further things he'd like.
Jim, did you wish to continue what you had to say earlier?
Yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I actually forgot that I'd cut you off there.
Sorry, I didn't introduce myself before. It's Jim Hunt, and we're 5622 Nixon Road. We have an adjoining property and acreage there, and some of this will tie into it here. So we left off that the frontage could be approximately 39 feet, or 2 car lengths. Council, when it was going for rezoning of Trout Creek and that, as Mr. Taylor had said in that, we had to go through and do a neighborhood plan. There was 4, and the neighborhood plan required for this block of Wharf Street, Nixon Road, Johnson Street, and Highway 97. The Taylor property was completed in 2009. The Joy property later became the present development on Johnson Street, Highway 97, Britton Road. the Davis property present rezoning application, and ours is the 4 properties that made up this application. The District of Summerland, it was a requirement that this was done in order to get the subdivision. The District of Summerland wanted to make sure the subdivision of all 4 properties were possible. And Britton Road joined to Nixon Road, which I know was not what was just said, but that's the way it was on that plan. As the years went by, different size lot zones have been designated, and we've developed lot layouts for our own property. As this proposed development of Ricky Development Corp. is designed, we would lose the potential of 2 lots. My neighbor which is bordering the property would lose the potential of 1 lot. Highway 97 was 4-laned and the traffic light on Johnson Road installed, and the Highways Department was going to close off Wharf Street. There was such an outcry from the affected area that the Highways Department backed down temporarily. It is now getting to the point that safety in turning south on Wharf Street is very questionable. I do not think Britton Road to loop back to Wharf Street and all vehicles to follow that pattern is correct when they could exit on Nixon. You will still need a partial road on Britton towards Wharf, like a cul-de-sac, to fully develop the subdivision. Can you envision all these lots with all fenced backyards, large trees, maple, oak, walnut, for etc., hanging all over each other's yards, room for about 2 cars parked out front, with the minimum of 12-meter lots? What a sight to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, for a third time, is there anybody interested in wishing to comment on this particular item? Okay, nobody? Okay, council, I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn, please. Would someone please pick Councillor Peak?
Before we adjourn, I think it's worth asking, because it's not something that I've asked at this council before, is there an option? There's been questions and concerns about more information and an open house by the developer, an opportunity for some dialogue and some exchange. And if we close this meeting off right now, I don't believe that that's possible. So I'd like to know what the process could be instead.
Okay, thank you.
If council closes the public hearing now, you couldn't move to 3rd reading and have any more information. But you can close the meeting now, and then when you're debating, when it comes up later on the agenda, rather than entertaining 3rd reading, you could ask that, you could direct staff to undergo a public engagement process or whatever you choose to do. The only thing is we would have to have another public hearing after that process happened. Then you would just have another public hearing at that time.
Thank you very kindly.
So where does that leave us with adjourning this particular public hearing?
You would adjourn the
Still
public
adjourn
hearing.
this public
Yeah.
hearing? I see.
And then
Okay.
when it comes up on the agenda later on, at council talks about the information,
Right.
you would then determine whether or not you want to entertain 3rd reading, table it, or direct staff to undergo a public engagement.
Thank you very much. Okay. Would somebody, Councillor Peak, were you going to bring that motion forward then?
I'll bring the motion forward on the condition
As-
that opportunity still lies there at
Okay, thank you.
our discussion.
Seconder, please?
You know, there's no, it needs to just be an adjournment.
I'll make the motion to close the meeting.
Okay. Councillor Holmes, seconder, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. The motion carries, none opposed. Thank you very much. So moving on to, where are we here? Delegations, 5.1, 2017 BC Culture Days. Who's dealing with that? Angelique?
Hi, thank you. My name is Bobby Bovenzi, and I've been selected from one of 7 ambassadors in BC to represent Culture Days. And I'm a new Summerland resident, and I'm finding that there are some incredibly talented and wonderful people here in Summerland. And I have a short video to show what Culture Days is all about. And if we could run that video, then I will just let you know how many organizations have agreed to to do an event during Culture Days.
Karen Kane once said that culture lets us find ourselves and lose ourselves at the same time. Her words and the love affair that millions of Canadians have with culture every day inspires the growing phenomenon that is Culture Days.
We have everything going on here to do with arts and culture that you can imagine, from hip-hop and introductory dance classes to sculpture and art projects.
From cake decorating to belly dancing.
Théâtre, danse, spectacle, beaux-arts.
Go do something you've never done before. Go see something you've never seen. Go experience something completely different. Founded in 2009, Culture Days is a non-profit organization dedicated to creating opportunities for every Canadian to participate in and appreciate all forms of the arts and culture.
D'aller en coulisses, d'aller à la rencontre des gens, et ça dans toutes les disciplines, et vraiment se permettre à tout le monde.
Once a year, for 3 days at the end of each September, a creative force of nearly 600,000 individual artists, cultural groups, and organizations volunteer to offer a hands-on, interactive cultural feast that brings millions of Canadians together to touch, taste, feel, and fall in love with culture in their community.
C'est pas quelque chose qui est snob, c'est pas quelque chose qui est compliqué, c'est pas quelque chose qui est inaccessible, on n'a pas besoin d'être intellectuel pour faire ça, c'est quelque chose qui est fun.
Now, in every province and territory, Culture Days represents the largest ever collective public participation initiative by the arts and cultural community in Canada. And the people's appetite for everything from architecture, comedy, dance, and heritage to music, new media, and visual arts has never been stronger. Some might call it an exhilarating creative awakening, but there is no mistake that during those 3 days every year, Culture Days ignites a love affair with culture that lasts all year long.
I think it's fantastic because it gets people out to experience cultural events and have a bit of an educational experience at the same time.
From Saskatoon, Winslow, St. Catharines, Vancouver,
Whitehorse, PEI, Waterloo,
St. John's, Toronto to Halifax.
Winnipeg, Victoria.
From the media that generates hundreds of millions of impressions covered in Culture Days, to the millions of people in over 850 cities and towns that participate in over 7,000 free activities, you simply can't deny that we love culture.
So as I started, when I started here first, they asked me to do an event. And so I thought about doing one event. And I found out the Arts Council was also doing an event. And as we met, we decided that there's such a plethora of people here in Summerland that we should try to do more. So we've acquired about 15 different organizations to do a free Cultural Days activity from the 29th through the 1st. And some of them include the School of Dance, the museum, the library, the Art Center will do a whole day activity. We'll have a farm tour, organic farm tour, local musicians jam. There'll be a center stage theater all-day event for all ages, young kids up to seniors. I've worked with seniors at the senior village, and they're wonderful people who are needing more activity. And behind-the-scenes things from some theater groups. And so what I'm hoping to see happen is that if anybody sees this poster around town, that you stop and take a look at it and support Summerland, because normally as an entertainer, it's always the tourism that I'm working to entertain. And I think it's important to now bring Culture Days together, to bring this community together, to celebrate as a community of the free things that are going on, and hopefully prosper those companies and organizations that are putting on an event. Thank you for your time. I won't take much more of that.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Bavenzi. Appreciate that. So, Council, we need a resolution to receive the presentation you've just seen. Someone like to do that, please? Councillor Boot?
I'd like to move that the presentation from Bobby Blavenzi, 2017 BC Culture Days Ambassador, regarding BC Culture Days be received for information.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you. All in favor? None opposed? Actually, I was hoping we were going to get a drumming presentation. Anyway, okay, we have a second delegation coming up. It's Robin Hutchings, 5.2. Is she here? Okay.
Hi. Bear with me, this is the first time I have done something like this, especially in my hometown of Summerland. Okay, so I'm here to talk about rats. And I have had the amazing privilege of growing up in Summerland. I have 2 family homes here in Summerland, and an invested interest in Summerland because I love Summerland, and I am working with my mother on a project that is deeply invested in the community of Summerland. Can you guys hear me okay? I move sometimes when I talk.
Remember, you are speaking to council, Robin, so...
Oh, okay. Thank you. Council, thank you for having me. And Mayor, thank you for having me. So I first came across the situation of rats in Summerland 3 years ago, visiting my family, and I saw rats out and about during the day. And I was like, oh, this is kind of odd. Why am I seeing rats during the day? And then talking to my mom about issues of trying to trap them, get rid of them, and then conversations with various neighbors and various stories started to come out. So I was concerned. Mayor Waterman was very gracious and had a meeting with me, which I greatly appreciate. Just my first concern about it, and if it was something that council was talking about or if the town was talking about. At the time, I wasn't here in Summerland very often at all, and so it's not something I was able to follow up on. But having returned and continuing to speak to people, I realized that they've moved from Trout Creek to Lower Town, which was 3 years ago. Time's up.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'll just pause.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. Watch, it'll be mine next. So, yeah, the rats moved from, well, what I heard is from Penticton to Trout Creek to Lower Town, and now since I've been back this summer, I've heard that they've moved uptown as well. And I don't know how many people have seen rats who are here in this room or had issues with them, but some stories that come out are things such as they're in the shed and then they get trapped, but they're not quite dead in the trap, and so the rat's still alive, and it could bite you, and that is a health concern. I've talked to the Interior Health Authority. If it does bite you, that is an issue, and as well as rats. For instance, our good neighbor Char Wheeler, they had rats in their shed, they've had rats in the yard, and they have had rats one time in their lawnmower, and she couldn't start the lawnmower, and so she goes to start the lawnmower. She gets it started because she's an amazing woman, and you can imagine the rest. It's a little bit gruesome. So I just find it incredible that this sort of rat story saga is going on. I'm a grad student in environmental education. That's maybe where my interest in this comes from and talking about it. According to Interior Health Authority, I spoke to Jacqueline Duncan just today, actually, again, and she said that once you start seeing rats in the day, it is a severe problem. Now, all of BC has an issue with rats. I understand that. And it's very difficult to do something about it. Individuals are trying to do something about it. But it's not a coordinated effort. And so that's where my concern comes in, is if there is a way for it to become a coordinated effort, whether this be through education, through information on the website, on the Town Council website. I did look through it. I didn't find any information on how to deal with rats. It might be there. Sometimes my brain is thick in thesis, so I might have missed it, but I didn't find it easily. And so if it's not easy to find for someone who is used to doing research, I wonder how easy it is to someone who isn't used to doing research. My other concern, other ways you can do education, website, through hosting a meeting about it, doing mail-outs about it, whether it's by email or through slow mail and brochures, in terms of how to deal with the rats and that we perhaps want to. We're a tourism town. I've worked in tourism for 12 years, and being focused on agriculture, food, wine, I've had friends visiting and we've seen rats go by, not multiple at once, but one at a time, and they're turned off. They're not impressed by it. They don't like it. And of course, we all know that there are rats in BC, but seeing them in the day is a concern. The Interior Health Authority said that it's not their jurisdiction to deal with rats. I did talk to them. Linda, the Chief Administrative Officer, was really kind in suggesting that I check in with them. And she said that Jacqueline Duncan from Interior Health Authority said that it's not something that they have authority to deal with because the province doesn't have any legislation around it. It's something that the town could put a bylaw around, but I also have a concern about that because in the sense that if it's a simple bylaw of individuals having to deal with rats on their own, there's a lot of elderly population. There's some people who may not be able to access traps or get rid of rats themselves, in which case they need to call an exterminator. Maybe they don't have the money to do that. And I don't know if it's possible to subsidy something in regards to preventing rats or getting exterminators.
I'd just like to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I think I understand what you brought forward, and I appreciate that. A number of years ago, on a previous council, we had an issue with rats, which we had to bring to staff, etc.
Mhm.
So I'd really like to sort of draw your presentation to a close.
Sure.
And we'll receive your information. And I think that will be information for staff to look at and
Yeah.
see what we might be able to do. Because there is a level of, it gets to be a level of concern where we'll have to look at the ramifications and how we might be able to deal with it. So,
May I ask one question
Yes, go
before I
ahead.
wrap up?
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm just wondering, in also in how people deal with it themselves, if there's, what Summerland's bylaw is in dealing with a dead rat, because I couldn't find that either. So I'm not sure if town council knows that information, but that's something, for instance, that when we did have a dead rat, we weren't sure the proper way to dispose of it. So even just information like that. And I truly appreciate your guys' time, and just hope that I can pass on the baton and maybe solutions will be sought.
Thanks for bringing it forward. Appreciate that. And we'll have staff look into it more. Okay?
Thank you.
So, council, could we have a motion to receive, please? Councillor Peak?
Yeah, that the presentation from Robin Hutchings regarding rats in Summerland be received for information.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Traynor. Okay, any further discussion at all?
I just.
Well, actually, there won't be. We're going to refer to staff and we'll deal with it at a later date. Okay?
Okay.
Could do that?
Yeah, but if they have questions.
Okay, well, ask a question. I'm
So
sorry.
it's not really a question. I'm just wondering that because RDOS has a staff person that deals with this kind of person, Zoe, I'm wondering if perhaps our staff could work with the RDOS staff, and if there could be, as Robin suggested, I'm not sure where she is, to have some education sessions, because I know that she has some good ideas already, because I've
Yeah,
heard
Zoe
them.
is aware to some extent right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that was all.
Yeah, that is one of her positions. That's what she
Can I
does.
mention one thing? I don't live here full-time, and so if anyone else is interested in carrying this forward a little bit more, I came from Bamfield on the west coast of Vancouver Island for this. So still very interested and invested, and will give anyone my phone number or email, but if there's anyone local who wants to carry on.
Good. Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much. Okay, council. Motion to receive is done. We've got a seconder. All in favor? Okay, motion carries. None opposed. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're moving ahead to the opportunity for public comment on highlighted items in the agenda. And we'll move ahead to that, if you please. And unfortunately, because of the heavy schedule we have tonight, we're going to be limiting to 2 minutes per speaker, and we will have to limit to the full 15, only the 15 minutes allotted for this particular section in our agenda. If
Yep.
that's okay?
1 minute. Dear Mayor, dear Council, dear staff, we present to you today a total of 2,936 signatures to help you, Mayor and Council, to make a sensible decision for our town's future. We have heard it tonight. We made a mistake with the previous submission. I was gone for a little while, but we strive to be honest and correct rather than be blinded by an even bigger number. All the signatures were collected not by a large-scale petition effort or by hiring petitioners, but by several individuals, inhabitants of our town, in their spare time. 2,936 signatures from Summerland's concerned residents, businesses, scientists, and NIMBYs once again show that we strive for preserving agricultural land, protecting the fish hatchery, and sensible development in a sensible location. And my last plea, if we talk climate action plans, it's on the agenda tonight, sustainability, green energy, let us please walk the talk. We cannot talk one way while allowing a development that largely accomplishes the opposite. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Mayor, council, and staff, sorry. I'd just like to take a quick opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Mike Rigby. I am the general manager of your community-based Junior B hockey team. I just want to let you know that I'm here in attendance for later on the agenda. If you have any questions, I'll be here to answer them.
Thank you, sir.
Don Richards, 14119 Prairie Valley Road. I would like to address the proposed RDOS sewage and compost site. Mayor and Council, I'll make this very quick. I have many concerns about the proposed RDOS compost site in Summerland, all of which have been stated in letters to Council, so I won't go over those again. My question to Council is, why would this proposal even be considered for Summerland when the good citizens of Marin Valley, MLA Linda Larson and Tom Sidden, RDOS Director for Area D, all emphatically said no to the same proposal? As far as I know, the concerns were the same. Increased traffic through residential areas, odor, and possible water contamination. Why on earth would we want to inherit the problems of other towns? Penticton did not plan ahead, and now they're looking for solutions outside of their boundaries. This is not NIMBYism. This is common sense, and I'm asking that you really consider this seriously. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'd just like to remind the audience of what I said earlier. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Nancy Sheehan. I live at 13040 Stephen Avenue. And I'd like to comment on the motion about the access agreement at the Summerland landfill site to enable the RDOS to conduct studies related to the proposed regional compost facility. My concern is that this motion will be considered and voted on with 2 council members absent from this meeting. Many of my neighbors and I have very little information on what a regional compost facility is and what it will do for the citizens of Summerland. I understand that Summerland will not be the operator when this land is leased to the RDOS. That will be their job. Before any vote is taken, we, the people of Summerland, need to know what this is about. Giving access to Summerland property that the taxpayers own for an outside agency to control must be debated by all councillors, as they were elected to represent us, and we need to hear from all of them. Could we not have public information sessions and feedback from citizens of Summerland and wait for all councillors to be present and then bring this motion forward. This is something that will affect every person living in Summerland and must not be taken lightly. What is the hurry to push this through? Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. Mr. Walker.
Yes.
We can't hear. The microphone's not working or whatever. We can't hear nothing.
You'll hear me. No, it's not working much.
It's working.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
Speak closer to
people. Just need to.
Yeah, I'm good. So again, Sharon Mansier, this is the issue that I came for. I agree with the previous speaker. We're at an interesting point. Any decision made when we're down councillors will be viewed as trying to get away with something. I don't think that's good for you guys, and I think the issue deserves a larger quorum. What I really want to tell you about today is geology. I decided that that's my best information for council today. The Okanagan Valley on this side is drastically different, the west side, than the east side. So this is important. This is going to be very important because this side is porous, fractured. That's why we have great aquifers. This is important for us because that's how we get our drinking water. It's distressing because that's how our dump may cause our drinking water a problem. To understand this, you have to know that the Okanagan Valley was made up of layers of rock. And so that bottom layer got baked, it got cooked by the pressure of the above layers. So there was a layer at the bottom, then there's this mushy layer, like a layered cake with jam in it. And that jam doesn't hold very well, and above that are two more layers of rock. So when it tipped, which is what happened, and we were on the low side of the teeter-totter, the top two layers of the cake slid over here. They're all jumbled, they're all broken, they're all porous. And that is our fault damage zone that we have to deal with on this side. It's on the other side, what was left behind is the well-cooked, well-solidified rock. So if somebody had come to me and asked, where should we put facilities that contain, whatever goes in this? So it's going to have, all sorts of problem potential. I would put it anywhere on the east side of the lake. I would not put it in porous materials. That is a problem. The fault damage zone, you may remember its fame in 2014
Excuse me,
when
Sharon, could you wrap up, please? We finished.
Sure. So that closed the highway. So this is what gives us our drinking water, but it's also going to be a challenge for this facility because this facility requires a much more contained area. So I think the problem is that we've got this funny dilemma. We call it a false dilemma when we make a decision based on our final point. But we're trying to decide whether or not Summerland should be included, but it's just not the right type of soil, not the right type of structure.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. We are Leanna and Jason Jewell, 20201 Princeton Summerland Road, and we are Jewell Ranch, or what we're trying to be, as soon as we get approved for our guest ranch. And we back on to the Summerland landfill right now, which we have no problem with. So we see it, but we don't smell it. But this is a concern, a compost facility with noise, odor, and water contamination. We're opening up a holistic ranch with camping and glamping and meditation and yoga outside. And this is going to severely impact our guest ranch that will be bringing business to Summerland. But my one concern is that we come from Alberta. There's a town called Morinville there, and they had Champion Pet Foods open up years ago with all the promises of no odor, no noise. And so till this day, they struggle with noise and odor. So you're driving through Morinville and it smells like your head is in a bag of dog food. So they had put up another tower for smell because of the protests from the community, but still there's nothing they can do because it's already built and it's already there. So I'm really concerned that if this goes ahead, how do we stop it once it goes ahead? Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Lisa Painter. I live at 8915 Prairie Valley Road. I'm new to Summerland, but I'm also concerned about the new compost facility being considered. For a variety of reasons, most of which for me is the traffic. I can't understand taking trucks 7 kilometers through residential area. The other concern that I have is my significant other's mother lives just at the western boundary of Summerland. She has spoken to the city planner previously about subdividing her 50 acres to put houses on it, and has been told it would not be looked upon favorably because they want to attract developers for high-density residential. Now, if that's the future use the council wants for this area, how are you going to do that when you have a compost facility there? People don't want to live next to that. So, just one thing to consider.
Thank you.
The other thing is looking at the triple bottom line report. Summerland is the only one of the 8 facility or places considered that was also considered with the regional district of Central Okanagan's bio-waste as well, which I understand to be Kelowna's. That seems odd to me. It's almost like Summerland has been a foregone conclusion from 2-3 years ago. That's a concern. As I said, I'm new, so I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. My name is Hello. Good evening. My name is Arletta Houle, and I'm from 12582 Sunset Place up in Deer Ridge. And Mayor and Council, you are entrusted in making decisions that represent the best overall interests for the residents and businesses of Summerland. Can you please explain how siting a high-risk solid waste facility in Summerland benefits our community? And you've heard all the infrastructure issues, the environmental, the safety, the nuisance, meaning odor and noise factors. And I'm sure you've also considered all the financial liabilities to the District of Summerland. When you build roads, we're going to be responsible for the new roads, for the maintenance of roads, for 50 trucks going up and down whatever streets we choose, and they carry a very heavy burden. All roads are not constructed to carry trucks. So I just really wish that you would reconsider item number 12 and really not even consider Summerland as the site for this facility.
Hi, Al Christie from 10701 Aileen Avenue. I have a question for council about the compost facility. When we sell Summerland's clean air to RDOS, and we sell Summerland's clean water to RDOS, and we sell Summerland's pristine reputation, their brand in the marketplace, kind of Summerland's quality of life to RDOS, I assume we're going to get a lot of money for that. I certainly hope so. In fact, I'm assuming that it's going to reduce my property taxes. So my question is, how much do you think it's going to reduce my property taxes? Like 10% or 25% or 50% or, hey, 100%? Because really, Summerland City is going to have to pay me to live here if that compost facility goes in.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wish to speak? Looks like somebody's coming forward. Just about. I'd just like to remind you, Marilyn, we're really closing in on our 15 minutes, so please be brief.
I will be. My name is Marilyn Hanson, 7611 Oak Avenue. It's very curious that it's down to Summerland as the last place for this composting site. Tom Sidden on the RDOS Council wouldn't accept it, Merritt wouldn't. And there's a very good article about the science of this from scientists who wrote in the Merritt Herald about the heavy metals and the pharmaceuticals which are left in the waste. And there is the fact that nobody wants to buy this stuff. Tom Siddon suggested that this composting site be at Brenda, where he said there is electricity, parking, and water control. Why are we thinking about putting this next to our water source when another area could be studied?
Okay. Thank you. Actually, we've just polished off our 15 minutes, if that's okay. I'm sorry. No, I know it's not okay, but unfortunately it has to be.
Peachland would like this facility.
I'm sure. Okay,
Give it
thank
to
you.
someone who wants it.
Okay. Okay, council, excuse me. Council, I would like to have a short 5-minute break, so I need a motion to that effect, please. Councillor Boot, thank you. Councillor Holmes. And please be brief and come back to your seats quickly. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to reopen the meeting. And my mayor's report, I'm going to speak to an issue tonight, which we are going to be dealing with. Mr. Planner, could you please bring that slide up? Yeah, I will. On both screens? Okay, thank you. This evening, as we're all aware, we are dealing with a request from the RDOS to access an area west of and behind our current landfill to do site testing to determine if the site is suitable for the location of the proposed composting facility. We are not considering any kind of lease or pre-lease agreement at this time. I'd like to explain why myself and Councillor Boot wish to have our area adjacent to our current landfill considered for this site. I'd like everybody to listen very carefully to what I say, because I think actually I bring up a lot of things that you folks have brought up tonight. Currently, the District of Summerland has a recycling program that diverts paper packaging, cartons, and various types of containers to our recycling program. These items do not go into our landfill and are recycled. Not only does this reuse materials, but our landfill will last years longer without the bulk of these materials. Currently, kitchen waste is part of our garbage collection and is deposited in our landfill. The newer section of our landfill has a liner and leachate collection system. The old part does not. Removing kitchen waste, which is a very significant component of our current landfill, would be removed, again extending our landfill. And remember, the old section of the landfill has all that material in it. Currently, biosolids are dewatered in a centrifuge at the sewage treatment plant and are brought up to our landfill and deposited with and mixed with yard waste and greenwood in an area approximately 330 meters from our balancing reservoir and composted. That's the first little thing on the right of that map. It shows current biosolids mixing area. That's where we bring the material right now from our sewage plant, sits on bare ground, and then is mixed with organic material and windrowed for later use or for sale. Now, some of this material currently is stored in a gravel pit area approximately 120 meters from the balancing reservoir that supplies our water treatment plant. So that's that bottom star there. Now, the next phase of recycling as we move into the future is to produce a full organic mix without biosolids in the mix. Somebody mentioned heavy metals and so on. That's the big problem with biosolids organic mix. Without biosolids, then you have the opportunity for a certifiable organic mix. Now, the But this does include kitchen waste as well as yard waste and green, pardon me, I'm going to back up here. So we're at that area where we've done some storage. Some of this compost is stored there. This biosolid organic mix is windrowed and available for sale. You all know that this particular mix is not ideal for gardens or commercial agricultural use. So as we move into the future, we're looking for an organic mix without those biosolids. But that organic mix will include kitchen waste and yard waste and greenwood. Many communities now collect kitchen waste as part of the recycling program. Over 5 years ago, the RDOS started looking for a site to set up a full recycling facility that would compost biosolids and separately compost kitchen waste, yard waste, and greenwood. Councillor Boot and myself saw an opportunity for the District of Summerland to vastly improve our landfill operation and move towards a full recycle program. I've already stated the proximity of our landfill to our balancing reservoir. The proposed site of a new facility would be approximately 1 kilometer from the balancing reservoir. The facility has to be a full in-vessel facility, preventing any leachate from entering the soil. It would be a two-part facility, one for the biosolids mix and one for the totally organic mix. It would also be fully covered with full odor control. The biosolids mix is the preferred mix to provide a very effective cover for landfills when they are sealed up after they're completed and filled up that particular site. The organic compost, that's one that could be fully certified, would service gardens, orchards, and vineyards in Summerland and the Okanagan Valley. High-quality organic compost is in heavy demand, especially for food crops. In addition, orchards and vineyards have been needing a high-quality compost that not only creates better soil conditions and weed control, but a mulch that enables excellent water conservation. Now, we've talked about safety. Trucking is a concern, and there are safety issues. I indicated to the RDS board that all of Prairie Valley Road requires upgrading, and safety issues must be addressed. Sidewalks must be considered from Cartwright to the school zone, as well as significant traffic calming conditions and signage. So we're looking at a facility that somebody else is going to pay for that would improve our present landfill, because right now we put kitchen waste, biosolids adjacent to our balancing reservoir on bare ground. This would move everything to a sealed facility, even much further away from where everything is done right now. So this is why we thought this would be a good idea to bring it forward, because here we have an opportunity to actually improve our landfill as it stands right now. At the same time, we have very good leverage to upgrade all of Prairie Valley Road, improve the safety conditions on Prairie Valley Road, and if it was going to be upgraded for a better surface, I would insist that we have cycling lanes all the way out towards the KVR on the roadway. When we're looking at that, we would end up getting into negotiations about that, but at the same time, I made it very clear to the RDS board that I was not interested in this facility if it wasn't a full state-of-the-art type facility. Believe me, when I sat at that board table, I was very passionate about it. I made it very, very clear that we were only interested in it if it met those kind of standards. So the subject is coming tonight to council for the first time so everybody could have a better understanding of the proposal. Our CAO will be mentioning something about or later in the meeting we'll mention something about appropriate consultation procedures and so on and so forth. But anyway, that's my report, and I'm glad you folks came here this evening to indicate your concerns, because believe it or not, my concerns are your concerns, and there's no question about that. Most of you know me very, very well, okay? I would not bring anything to this council without those concerns being addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have three things for council tonight. The first one along the lines of what you're just saying, just clarification. I wouldn't bring it up generally at this time. It's coming up on the agenda, but I had a number of phone calls asking for clarification today. There was an article in the Penticton Herald today, and it actually states that the access agreement also called a lease in principle. And just to be absolutely clear, it's not anything at all lease in principle. An access agreement is something that typically would not come to council. Typically, if somebody wanted access onto a city or district property in order to do some testing, it would be staff, probably the engineer, that would grant access to take the test that they needed for whatever reasons. But because this subject has not come to council before yet, to determine if you want to even start investigating it further. That's why it's on the agenda tonight. But it is not a lease in principle, and it wouldn't bind, it wouldn't make reference. And the CAO of the regional district and I had a long conversation about it, and in total agreement that at one point, I think it was said by somebody at the regional district that it would be a lease in principle, and that was an incorrect statement, and they have verified that, and just wanted to tell council that for sure. The second one is that all the minister appointments have been submitted to UBCM. We expect to hear over the next couple of weeks which ministers council will be meeting with and discussing the items, and I'll keep you posted. The last item is related to some disturbing events that have been occurring over the past couple of months. I want to bring council's attention to the fact that there's an escalation in the number of seriously alarming incidents that are occurring. As I say, some of them are serious. The incidents have included berating comments targeted to specific individuals, the tagging of the public property, which happened today, and I believe at this time all of council is aware of it. The tagging, and it did mention Mayor Waterman and slogans. It was removed at midday today and put back up again. And other incidents that I'm not going to talk about specifically right now, but they're targeted to individuals, and they're serious, and the district's following it out. But basically, I want to bring it to council's attention because it's the part of each of our role that no matter what position is being taken on a matter, it's to make sure that any disrespectful behavior, intimidation, or bullying is not considered acceptable, and that each member of council and senior staff has an obligation to make sure it doesn't continue. When council is committed to an engagement through a public process, it's really important that care is taken that all sides have the opportunity to speak in a safe environment and not fear personal ramifications. It is unsettling for staff, and I know for council, that at this point in time there's situations where attempts, and serious attempts, I'm not talking just minor things, have at intimidation have been made. So much, if not the majority, of the engagement and public comment is just good, passionate feedback, which is critical for council to hear, and that's understood. That needs to be continued and encouraged. I think what happens is that the public doesn't see more of the more negative actions that are occurring. Then it can seem silly when the mayor asks the crowd not to clap or sneer or make comments, because that alone doesn't seem like a very big deal. But when there's bigger things happening, and it's setting the tone to say that it's not acceptable, I have people that have phoned me and said that they do wish to come to talk to council, but they don't wish to if they're talking in favor of something that the majority in the room are not talking. And that's a real comment that we have received more than once. So I just wanted council to understand that we are following up on the more serious actions, and that in my work with the municipality, in all the different municipalities I've worked in, I haven't come across the actions that are happening. I have never, no matter what the most serious, passionate developments or issues that we're looking at, I haven't witnessed what's happening here, and I just think that we need to be highly aware of it. And that's my report for today.
Thank you. Okay, moving forward to unfinished business, 9.1. Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is just reporting out from the closed session of August the 14th. Chris Becker has been appointed as a member of the Parks and Rec Commission with a term to expire July 13th, 2018. Thank you.
Thank you. Would someone on council like to bring that forward, please? Oh, okay, just an announcement. Fine, thank you. Okay, moving forward to correspondence. We have a number of items here. Would any councillor like to bring any of those forward at this time? Okay, hearing none. Someone like to bring the motion forward, please? Councillor Boot?
I move that the informational items included in the report dated for the August 28, 2017 regular council meeting from the Manager of Legislative Services be received for information.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Motion's carried. And opposed? Thank you very much. Mr. Strachan. Going to 11.1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next item we have is a development variance permit application. Council has seen a number of variances for this particular neighborhood. It's a variance to reduce the front yard setback from 6 meters to 4.5 meters. In this particular application, we have two property owners that are now ready to build their homes and have applied for the variance. The variance allows for the garage to be pulled further forward on the lot. This strata was originally developed before the bylaws were amended. So the rest of the homes that are existing that you see on the air photo are all built to that 4.5 meter standard, and these new ones are required to make this application in order to build to that same standard. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So now there's an opportunity for the public to speak to this. Anybody like to come forward? Okay, hearing none. Council, any questions of the planner? Okay. Someone like to bring this forward for approval, please? Councillor Holmes? Councillor Peak, seconded? Okay. Comment?
Was that the motion to approve the development variance permit application?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, any further discussion? We've been dealing with this several times now. Yes?
I'd just like to say that we did ask if there was a way that they could all be done at once, and that wasn't deemed to be a good way to do it, so they are coming forward as people are building their homes, which makes sense in the long run.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor? None opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Stratton, 11.2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have a second development variance permit application. This particular application is in relation to a rear yard setback for a property. The property has an irregular shape in that it has a long frontage that faces onto Thornburg Street, and they've asked for a variance in order to encroach into the rear yard setback area with the building addition. Many zoning bylaws would include a provision that identifies lots that are wider than they are deep and would have regulations within the zoning district that accommodates for reduced setback. So instead of a 7.5 meter rear setback, you'd have a 4 meter rear setback when that specific condition was in place. The District of Summerland zoning bylaw does not include such a regulation for irregular shaped lots. This property is further limited by the RAR setback that is from the lakeshore. However, the property itself is quite large, so there is development area within there, and they fully developed that and are seeking the variance to increase the size of the building. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an opportunity for anybody who's concerned about this to speak now, please. Anybody in the public?
Pardon me, Mr. Mayor, if I may, there was one letter that we did receive in support of this application from Chris and Lisa Prouse.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Your Worship, councillors, staff. My name's
please
Norman
speak up,
Goddard.
sir?
Hi, can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. My name's Norman Goddard. I'm the architect of this project. The development before you represents the second phase of a two-phase development for renovating the property. The first phase was completed about 7 years ago. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to entertain them at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So, council, any questions of this architect or of staff? No, I guess we're good, sir. Thank you for coming forward.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay.
Marilyn Hanson again, 7611. This is my neighbor's place. We talked it over. We walked around the place, and I think it's fine with me. Okay? I got a letter from you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, council, would someone like to, or any, I'd like to bring that forward, please. Councillor Traynor?
I'll bring forward the motion as presented that the developed variance permit application be approved.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes, thank you. Any further discussion on this?
I just
Councillor
have one
Booth, go
question,
ahead.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is to Mr. Strachan. The black line there at the front where it meets the lake, that's the edge of the property? That's a property line?
That's correct. The line you see extending across here is the property line. On the site plan itself, you can see where the setback is for the SPIA.
Okay, if you could go back to the image again for a second, please. The area to the east of the property line, what is that? Is that a municipal park? Or I'm just wondering about the green space in there next to the lake.
It's just foreshore. To the right of the black line.
Right.
Just
but
foreshore.
typically grass is not part of the foreshore. I'm just wondering if that's a municipal park or what it is.
It's just existing foreshore that was developed at some point in the past.
Crown land foreshore.
So who put the grass in there, I guess is my question.
At some point in the past, it was installed. It wouldn't be permitted to be done under the current RAR regulations. But
Okay.
it exists as an existing landscape.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Booth, yeah, that grass has been there for a long time, and they're in the process of rehabilitating it now for riparian setback reasons.
Thank you. I love to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now have we got two separate resolutions here?
No.
No. Oh, okay.
And so you already have a mover and seconder.
Okay. Okay. Right. All in favor? Thank you. None opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 12.1. Guess planner dealing with this?
No, me.
CAO?
Council, I don't think there's too much introduction needed of this subject. As you can see, RDOS has identified this as their preferred site for a regional compost facility. If it is to be considered for a grant, for a lease, there's still quite significant information that it would be required, some through testing of through the regional district. If council is supportive of having those studies be done, they would be done at the regional district's cost and expense, and we would sign an access agreement. As I said in my CAO report, it would simply be an agreement it would simply say something like regional district is given access to the lands to conduct testing. There would be no reference to any lease in principle or any suggestion that it would be even considered any further. It would strictly state that they would have the access. And the second staff recommendation would be that if council is considering looking into this further, that they would want to develop an extensive public engagement process for two purposes. One would be to make sure that the information is out there. Even staff at this point in time does not have all of the information from regional district yet. We would want to do a public education process. In conversation with the mayor, I suggested that could include things such as on-site tours, where we could book tours up to the landfill site so that we could actually have the opportunity for the public to actually look at where the facility is being proposed, what we actually have there now, and have some of our works and engineering staff guide it through that. And just and so both the education part of it, but also the opportunity to be heard from the public in a more holistic manner. So those are the two staff recommendations put forward to today.
Okay, thank you. Council, questions of our CAO? Councillor Peak.
Well, I have concern that our landfill is an asset, and I don't see putting it out for tender for consumable by even the RDOS. I really feel that the RDOS is looking for a remedy, and I think they really need a solution, and it's probably a valley-wide solution that's something greater than a residential landfill area in an area where we have a lot of people that live. So I have concerns around that particular aspect of anything.
Okay, thank you. This is, as you realize, what we're looking at here is strictly giving permission for access to do testing.
I understand that.
Okay. Councillor Holmes. Councillor Holmes?
I guess the concern I have is this is something.
Can you speak up? Mike's up.
This is something we have never really addressed before in our strategic planning and in our own priorities. You know, it's just coming to us now. We have discussed issues with our own landfill, as you noted, though we've never really received any staff report. We don't really know what action needs to be taken on our landfill. But it seems to me if we're going to look at this, we can't separate the two. We need to be looking at the two together. And that's not in the proposal from the RDOS. And so when we look at whether there's interest in discussing this proposal further, I would say no. If there's interest in discussing a proposal where we are able to address the issues we have with our landfill as part of this, then I say, yeah, that's worth talking to. Right now, when you look at the motion that's that's being presented to us, the second part, the public engagement, I don't understand what we would be consulting, because we don't really know what we're talking about right now. We don't really know what the deal is. So how can we engage in the public when we don't know what we're engaging with? We don't know if that makes sense. I also have a concern about the capacity of our staff to take on something like this on a public engagement consultation strategy of this. When we're always hearing about how we're overstretched right now, that our outstanding council resolutions are list just keeps getting longer. We don't seem to be tackling those at the rate I'd be comfortable with. And I would rather see our staff working on our priorities right now rather than the RDOS's priorities.
Anybody else like to speak to it? Councillor Booth.
I have a question. It's not necessarily a concern, but I have a question about the timing of the comprehensive public consultation strategy. If the first step is to provide an access agreement so that the RDOS can do further testing, I'm wondering why we wouldn't wait until we get the results of the testing before we even go forward to, because it may not even be required. It may be, it's a no-go.
Yeah.
That's my question.
Absolutely, that's I think the point is that if you're going to put it on the table, at some point in time you're going to want to say what it is, to introduce what regional district is proposing to you. And that's the education side of things. So there would be nothing wrong with waiting and allowing the test, again, if council even decides to put it on the table to talk about it further. So you could do it in two steps if you decided to as well.
Yeah, actually, to add to that, I think that's a very good point, because they could easily do their tests and find that it's not suitable as they may have thought it was. So I think that's possible. So, but having them be able to do those tests is, I think, a useful component of this. And I think, as I've stated earlier, that I recognize what Councillor Holmes has just said. But when an opportunity comes up, and we know, and I've lived in this community from about 1976, I'm very familiar with the landfill. It's where I meet a lot of my friends over the last number of years when you go there on a Saturday. But I'm very familiar with how it's operated, and I saw this as an opportunity to look forward to how we might have a more comprehensive way of handling things. And I think the first step is to allow access so that they can at least determine whether there's any potential there. And because I really don't, it's all very well talking about, okay, we need a staff report, et cetera. But when we compare what we have in place right now with the public's concerns that they've brought forward this evening, many of those concerns are not addressed by our current situation in the landfill. This was an opportunity to address concerns about odor, about potential leachate that may be coming from kitchen waste, et cetera, or biosolids in our present landfill. So that's why I think Councillor Boot and I saw a potential here for an opportunity to do a better job than what we've been doing and have somebody else pay for it. Any other comments? Councillor Traynor.
There's been talk before of another.
Can you speak right into
There's
the
been
mic?
talk before of another location, Brenda Mines, I believe it is, just outside of the RDOS. Do you know, has that location been considered?
I don't believe it was in their list, but I have information that the actual access road to the Brenda Mines location is in very rough shape and has fallen apart and would require a lot of work to upgrade it to the level that we need. Anyway, that's all I heard. That's all I heard from somebody who's...
Did the
been involved.
RDOS express...
Anyway, Councillor Peak, thank you.
I'm not done yet.
Oh, Councillor Traynor?
Did the RDOS express any interest in investigating the cost of that location?
We talked, I think it was talked about briefly, the trucking cost to that location would be excessive. That was one of the things that came up. And I think they were looking at, options within the regional district to see whether that would be a way to go.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Peak.
Yeah, I don't sit at the regional district, so I don't know what the conditions around the opportunity at looking at any of the 8 sites were about. So I'm going to ask this because I don't know. Was the basis for some of that discussion the fact that they were licensed landfill sites that they were looking at?
That wasn't necessarily one of the criteria, but one of the advantages here was that, we have some of the operational capacities in place in our landfill, but a lot of, like Marin Valley, for example, there's nothing there, but it actually was considered as equally as the Summerland site.
So they weren't all licensed landfill
No,
sites?
no.
Because I know it can take years to get a licensed landfill site, costs a lot of money, but if you're looking for a solution for a large area and not just one RD regional district, it might be an opportunity to look further afield. And they may have taken 5 years to look at what they're looking at now, but perhaps there's a greater opportunity to look for a real solution.
They looked at 18 sites and winnowed it down to about 8, and then it came down to Marin Valley and ourselves as the most suitable sites out of all the 18 that they looked at. Councillor Holmes.
Just to follow up Councillor Traynor's comments, do you know, has there been any discussions with the Central Okanagan at looking at a larger valley-wide site? And, thinking it longer term and considering the possibility of having energy generation, if you have a site that's large enough, that could be a possibility.
In the initial examination of how did it go? The first phase of an examination of it, where they were going to consider a consultant's hiring a consultant to look at these things, at that point, the Central Okanagan was not included in the ensuing discussions. So at this point, it was strictly the Okanagan Smoke-and-Mean that was considered, and not the whole valley, for example.
Why not?
Yeah, I think a long-term solution.
That's just the way it went. Okay. Councillor Booth. And Councillor Traynor.
I think maybe one of the reasons, Councillor Holmes, may be because the Central Okanagan Regional District has their own composting facility where they do biosolids and separate it out, or wastewater sludge and separate it out. And they do capture energy, and they do use that for homes. I have no idea what kind of capacity they might have at that particular facility, but I do know that there is one in existence and has been for several years.
Thanks.
Councillor Traynor.
I've read all the letters that we've received, and I have many concerns about this proposal. The proximity to the reservoir, an increase in traffic, odor, cost for upgrades to the road, and who will pay as well. Do we have the staffing capacity from our side to take this on? These are all extremely important, but at this point we don't have the answers to that. I'd also like to know how Summerland could benefit from this proposal. What are the benefits besides lease revenue, and could this facility, how exactly could this facility help improve our own landfill? And perhaps what is the cost of us not doing this as well, both as Summerlanders and as being part of the regional district? If they can't find a solution or a location, what is the cost to all of us for that? So those are the questions that I have, and that's kind of where I'm sitting right now. I'm also wanting to know what the rest of council thinks about waiting until Councillor Barkwell is back.
And or as well as Councillor Carlson.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
But she'll be off for 2 months, so.
That's correct. Yeah. I was, just to sort of respond a little bit to your concerns, you now have a copy of my mayor's report. And so I was hoping that some of the things that I described in there would actually answer some of those questions. Because for Summerland to do a full separation of, say, kitchen waste, to exclude that volume from our landfill and have some sort of facility that we could afford is actually out of the question in the foreseeable future. Because to do that kind of separation and to have a facility that would meet the concerns that have been addressed and brought forward here this evening, Summerland on its own cannot do that. So, we've been carrying on with our landfill the way we have, where we've been putting all kinds of waste in our old part of the landfill. It's still sitting there and, sitting where it is. A few years ago, we made the decision to expand the landfill and put a liner in place to prevent, to collect leachate, et cetera. But we're still putting all that kitchen waste, et cetera, in the lined area. And so, and then you talk about safety and road upgrades and so on. There's a fair amount of leverage that we have against the regional district to ensure that we have virtually no cost. I see us having to participate, for example, when we look at road upgrades and infrastructure spending that the federal government is involved with and provincially. Right now our participation load would be about 17% of any total. And so the 17% I see as something that could easily be shared or negotiated even to a lower percentage for us, with the regional district participating largely in that upgrade. And, you know, we've been upgrading Garnet Valley, which is almost completed. We're looking at Giant's Head Road next year, and we're hoping to get that 17% that we would require for that road upgrade. And of course, the other major one is Prairie Valley Road. And if you've ridden on it, as I have recently on a motorbike, you find out where all the jolts and the bumps and so on are in that road. And so where you have an opportunity to deal with some of the negative, what I see as negative aspects in our own landfill, put a facility in place that someone else is going to pay for. Upgrade a road to a standard that we've all wanted in terms of safety for children from, say, Cartwright down to the school, and largely have someone else pay for it. There was something about that rang to me that thought, you know what, I think we better consider this, because I didn't want somebody else down the road telling me, you mean you actually turned the deal down where somebody was going to offer you a new facility to upgrade your landfill and to largely pay for a road upgrade, and you didn't think that this was worth examining at all? And that's all we're looking at right now, is to provide access so that that first step that the RDOS might make to determine whether this site is at all suitable, what I think is a necessary first step. We don't know if it's going to go beyond that.
So just a point of order. Right now, Council, there's not a motion on the table. So right now, it's questions for clarification, and then a motion, either a motion to, as recommended, or a motion to table, or a motion to not entertain it. But there needs to be a motion before debate.
That's okay, fine. So as the CAO has stated, I mean, we've had some suggestion that perhaps we might only consider part one of this at this time.
Or whatever
Or
motion.
whatever council chooses. But there's no need at this point to consider the second portion of this. Councillor Peak.
If I need to table something to have a discussion, I would like to table the motion to discuss the opportunity for participation of the other councillors when they become available. That is, setting aside the discussion until the other councillors are available to be able to participate in this discussion, because I think it's an important discussion for our community.
So to table the matter.
To table the matter.
And are you talking, is your resolution or motion to table until after October 21st, when Councillor Carlson is back as well?
Well, to be able to include that councillor, that's the date it would have to be, but I didn't have that date in mind.
So to
So
table till...
I'll table a motion that relates to not making any decision on this until we have all councillors available, which would be after October 21st, 2017.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Traynor. Any further discussion on the tabling?
Well, I certainly did speak to it briefly, but I think the opportunity of all councillors that were elected by the public to have consideration for this motion would be important.
Okay, yeah, I don't have any disagreement with that. Any further discussion? Councillor Traynor.
The reason I seconded Councillor Peak's motion was because I feel that all of us need to participate in this discussion, and perhaps it will allow more time for discussion in the community and also councillors to do any research that they need to do.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Opposed? None. Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 12.2. Mr. Strachan.
Thanks.
Yeah. We'll just wait a sec to see everybody quieting down.
bodies. People can sit down again.
Okay, Mr. Planner, 12.2, update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next item we have is an update report on the Banks Crescent proposal. Within this report are two sets of items, one being a letter that was received following the presentation by the Freshwater Fisheries Society of BC, which is there now for Council's reference. The second part was a alternative option that was presented by the Lark Group, who is the applicant on this particular project. And this was a alternate to an Okanagan Lake deep water source. The alternative being to, instead of focusing on an alternate water source to ensure that the aquifer is protected, as a supporting that particular option, they've included a further geotechnical engineer's review and supplemented with that a further report from the hydrologist on what that impact would be. Essentially, they were establishing the depth that vibration would carry through this particular type of soil, and then determining that in relation to the shallowest point of the aquifer, which is identified at 20 meters in depth, and they've identified the vibration depth would extend up to 10 to 12 meters into the soil. So this proposal, or this proposed alternative, was forwarded to Freshwater Fisheries Society on August 15th, following the council meeting. We did receive initial emails that they would be preparing a response and for submission to council at this meeting. However, on Friday, I received an email that they would not be providing a response for this meeting, that will be coming later this week. That concludes our update to this point.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Any questions of the planner, council? Councillor Peak.
There is some reference to a possible third-party review. Could you perhaps expand on that?
Mr. Mayor, as it is noted in the report that we've received two professional letters along with this alternative. We would likely recommend, if this were to go forward, and we had the discussion with Freshwater Fisheries, and they agreed, as well as did the applicant, that we would likely engage a third-party professional to review the data that's been received, to provide that additional independent information to council and to the public on what's proposed. So not just the engineer from the applicant. The city or the district would engage a third-party professional to review what's been proposed and confirm what's been proposed.
Okay, yes, Councillor Peak.
Yeah, if I might have a subsequent, I've been doing some back reading on some of the stuff that we have had available to us, and I take it back to the PITCO report, and they made reference to the Golder Associate report in 2004, and I made note of the fact that it was an initial phase report for the fish hatchery, and I'd like to better understand perhaps the fish hatchery's own discovery in terms of its future and the risks and options around the things that it was considering even before this development. And I'm wondering if there's a possibility to have a look at the Golder Associate report from 2004, and if there was in fact a second phase, since it speaks to an initial phase.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Freshwater Fisheries responded to the questions around the aquifer's viability in their submission to council. They were quite clear that they did not have any further concerns with the viability of the aquifer to provide adequate water in its continued quality and its state. They didn't indicate any concerns with that. They have indicated that they've explored other alternatives in the recent past. There are hydrological reports that were provided. However, there's additional reports that they had commissioned that they allowed the applicants to utilize but did not bring forward to public record. So we see reference to them, but we don't actually have that report. It was privately done by BC Freshwater Fisheries. They did share the report with the applicants' professionals to assist them with more information, but did not authorize that particular report to be released public. So you see some reporting some of the Golder reporting that was done from previous studies has been made publicly available, but you'll also see reference in the reports to additional reporting that has not been made public.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, the reason I was interested, even if it was released privately to council, was that subsequently there was, as I understand it, that the fisheries did look for a well possibility, and I'd be interested on the reasons why they were looking for an option if, in fact, the springs were performing and had the quality in particular of what they were looking for. So that was the reason I was asking whether we could, in fact, see that report.
We certainly could put forward that question to BC Freshwater Fisheries. They have not provided that information at this point in time, but I'll certainly put the question to them and report back to council.
Thank you very kindly, Mr. Stockton.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Booth.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. I just need some clarification. On the letter from Freshwater Fisheries Society dated August the 14th, in the summary, so that's the last page of the letter, it talks about the viability of this, referring to the Okanagan Lake deepwater intake, or any other contingency water supply source. That they're looking for sufficient information that demonstrates the viability of one of those sources. So that's that letter. And then the letter dated the same date from the LARC group, so August the 14th, which speaks about their aquifer protection plan during construction. Did we not hear at the last meeting that they had returned to looking at a well as the contingency water supply? Or is the contingency water supply not something that they're considering at all anymore?
Mr. Mayor, the two options that are currently being reviewed by Freshwater Fisheries are the two components. The first one being the deep lake water intake.
Okay.
And there was concerns around that, and certainly Freshwater Fisheries spoke when they came to council about the desire to not look at an alternate water source, but instead just make sure that the aquifer is protected, and I think this is in response to that. But both options are still available. One is to continue the review of the deep water intake. Freshwater Fisheries hasn't yet decided if they wish to pursue further review of that option, not necessarily even accepting it, but to review it further. They've been provided preliminary information about the lake water. They've indicated that there's additional information that they would seek. They haven't provided those criteria that they're looking for data on. At this point, they're looking at this alternate, which is to protect the Shaughnessy Spring, and they're going to provide comment on that component, but both of those alternative options are available. The LARC did a three-part study back in, I believe, May that looked at using municipal water, using a well, or using a deep water intake. The well option actually showed a chemical composition that did not match as well to the aquifer because it's a deeper water source. So the chemical composition did not match as well. The closest match for the Shaughnessy Springs was actually the lake water from a deep water intake. So the well option was not the preferred option that was put forward. It's still there and available if that's the alternative that the hatchery wishes to pursue. It's still on the table. It's still available there. But the science behind it sort of recommended that they look at a deep water intake instead of a well based on that chemical composition.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, the deep water intake is still their option for the contingency water source?
They haven't...
LARC's option, depending on what the fisheries say, but that's the option that they're still presenting?
We've now presented two options. This is the second option that they've presented to BC Freshwater Fisheries, which is to not do an alternate water intake, but instead do a higher level of protection to the spring.
But that, to me, that's not an alternate contingency water supply. It's just simply monitoring?
It is, yes, that's correct. It's to monitor and protect the the aquifer, and not do an alternate water source. This proposal would not include an alternate water source.
And if I just could add, one of the difficulties we have is that it would be much easier and a quicker process if the consultants that's working with the hatchery and Lark Group consultants were working together and talking back and forth, rather that so that one's not necessarily on the table or off the table or rejected or discussions. It comes and it goes, and so they're all coming through the office and they won't work together. So that's why this timing it gets confusing, because there's this timing delay waiting for their response to see if they're interested in one proposal or the other. So they're all still on the table. They're just waiting for the hatchery's feedback on either one, and before they say anything else.
So what you've just told me, I think, contradicts what Dean Strachan said. I'll ask it again. Are there two options for a contingency water supply? Or not?
At this point in time, the hatchery has not ruled out any of the options.
Right.
It's as the CAO indicated, it's all of the options remain on the table because there is not discussions taking place directly. They're working through us.
Oh, okay, right. So the option that I'm aware of is potentially the deep water intake. What is the other option for the contingency water supply?
There is not two, and that's where it's...
Okay, that answers my question.
So basically after hearing the hatchery's presentation, Lark Group said, if it's not the alternate supply that you're concerned about, if it's the risk to the aquifer, maybe we should explore whether or not we could do sufficient monitoring to such a level that any concerns are alleviated, that that if there was any kind of effect starting, that it would be stopped. And so that's what they've put out there to ask the hatchery what, and we're not weighing in on the pros and the cons on any of that. We're not making a statement on whether at this point in time, we're looking to say to hear from the hatchery if there's any of it that comes up that is suitable to them.
I'm sorry to belabor this. What I am understanding from the second to last paragraph, the first paragraph, the summary of the August 14th letter from the fisheries, is that they are without these details, and that is the contingency water supply, the Society must remain opposed to the proposed development and any other development that could impact water quality in Shaughnessy Springs until there is sufficient information that demonstrates the viability of this, speaking about the deep water intake, or any other contingency water supply source. Does that mean that they are still insisting on a contingency water supply? Because that's the way it sounds like to me.
They haven't made comments they have not made comments since they've received the updated letter.
This was their presentation last council meeting.
So they've sort of crossed in the mail.
Yeah.
So
they didn't know about the latest, when we got this. They didn't know about the latest proposal when they wrote that.
If you're going to speak, please use the mic.
So, my understanding is that they were insisting on a contingency water supply. Is that not the case anymore?
If I may.
Go ahead, Councillor Peak.
When the fisheries made their presentation, I guess the developer was in the midst of doing this
if I could just
letter.
interrupt you for a minute, Councillor Peak. I totally understand the passing over of that.
Okay.
But for months, we've been talking about a contingency water supply. My question is, do they no longer need one?
We don't know.
We don't know. They haven't commented back to us.
Except it says in this letter that they need a contingency water supply.
Councillor Strachan.
Obviously, I'm not understanding what this statement is.
Mr. Strachan.
I don't think that they're saying that they actually need an alternate water supply. They've actually stated in their letters that the water supply they have now is adequate and working well for their function. The only reason they brought this forward was concern about damage to Shaughnessy Springs that would interrupt their water supply. And if that happened, this was where the alternate water source came from. This letter was prepared prior to and provided along with their presentation to council. And during their presentation to council, they were quite clear that their preference would be actually just to retain Shaughnessy Springs as their water source. They didn't rule out the contingency water source, but their preference would be to have the Shaughnessy Spring protected so that it's retaining as their water source. And some of the complexities that you see around reviewing an alternate water source to what they have is one of the reasons you've received this response. Is there's a lot of data that they've been provided. However, it's only at a level that's just to explore the option. There's many, many details, and council got a taste of some of those details as far as the water license, the facility, whether it would be owned by the district or owned by the freshwater fish. There's a whole pile of details that would follow if the freshwater fisheries said they wish to explore this option. At this point, they haven't committed to exploring any option. And that's what we're waiting for and we hope to bring to council today. But unfortunately, they aren't prepared with that letter yet.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Strachan.
Okay, I think, just if I may, the Lark letter, and which Mr. Strachan referred to earlier, part of the response about protecting the aquifer was to determine, looking at geology and so on, as to what impact the development would have in terms of vibration. And it was the report they have, which we would, I guess, be looking for a third party on. Is that correct? Was that the vibration would be dissipated after a certain number of meters into the soil and would not be carrying on through into the aquifer level itself. So that was in part a response to protection with enhanced boreholes to actually check during construction to make sure that nothing was going amiss with respect to that. Anything further, Mr. Strachan?
No, that's correct. It was intended to be a monitoring of the aquifer water in the test wells that they have. The proposal includes retaining those monitoring systems to be turned over to freshwater fisheries following completion of construction so they can continue to monitor their water source into the future. That's the proposal that's presented.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything further, council? Okay, could I have a motion to receive Mr. Strachan's report, please? Councillor Peak, thank you.
I will bring that motion forward for receipt of the report.
Okay, seconder? Councillor Traynor, thank you. All in favor?
Could I just say one other thing, please?
Go ahead.
I've just gone onto the council website to have a look at the documentation on Banks Crescent. And there is an email that was dated February the 24th of this year from Tim Yasaki, addressed to Mr. Strachan, that says our concerns are as follows, and there are 4 of them. The first one is the hatchery will require a permanent bracket life of hatchery bracket contingency water source. So that's what I'm referring to about, did the Freshwater Fisheries Society ever state that formally? And I would suggest that they probably did.
Mr. Strachan.
They actually went forward and prepared a letter that included those 4 items subsequent to that email being provided, and there was a letter that was put forward, And that was the source of council's resolution for us to explore addressing these 4 items. There's 3 items, the 4th one being that all the 3 items be addressed before construction begin, which brought us on this course, and we're evolving as we work down that course. And that is the initial response that we received from Freshwater Fisheries, was that there was 3 components that they were looking for with the proposal at that time. So this is the continuation of that original council resolution.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
Okay, where were we? We've got a mover, seconder. Okay. All
Yeah,
in
we
favor?
want to vote.
All in favor? None opposed? Thank you. Motion's carried. Okay, moving on to 12.3. CAO? Who's
This
dealing
will
with
be Mr. Johnson.
Oh, Mr. Johnson, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of the 2017 work program for the electrical utility, we're looking at replacing the substation switches inside the Prairie Valley substation, as well as the Trout Creek substation. In order to do this work, we require a power outage at the Prairie Valley substation in the total extent of about 12 hours. We've looked at the work program for this work, have consulted with some of the local health facilities, larger users, businesses, to look at what options and how that 12-hour outage would work. In the report, we're looking to propose 2 6-hour outages after balancing the implications to the public and other users with the need to have a long enough period to complete the work safely and efficiently. That's what we're proposing. This work, the dates that we're currently proposing are October 15th and 22nd to complete the work from midnight to 6 a.m. on those 2 days. And then following that, I guess, as part of this, bring this to council's attention and getting endorsement for that work plan, we would notify the public through our social media website and newsletter to get the word out there, to give them as much notice in advance of those outages as possible.
Okay, thank you. Council, questions of Mr. Johnson, please. Councillor Peak.
We would do our usual and your usual good job of notification to the community for these outages?
Yes, that's the plan.
So, okay, anything else? Could I have a motion to receive this report, please? Councillor Peak, seconder. Councillor Traynor. All in favor? Okay. Well, actually, before we move into that, is there any further discussion with respect to this at all?
I just have one question,
Yeah,
and it's
go ahead.
probably an obvious answer.
No, we don't know yet, do we?
No, you don't, because I haven't asked the question. Given the extremes of the weather that we've experienced this year, if it's ridiculously cold on October 15th and 22nd, and it's not advisable to have the power off for 6 hours at a time, can this be delayed until the spring? Or is that not advisable?
I guess the risk with the switches, the longer they remain in place, is just if we ever have to shut down a leg of that station, we're required to utilize these switches, and they could fail at that time, which would then put us in a situation where we're replacing them with upgraded switches under an emergency status versus on a planned outage such as this.
So it's kind of like the PRV thing.
If they were extreme temperatures that we were seeing at that time, we could look at modifying it based on the forecast for that period to see if it could be shifted slightly, but we would still plan on conducting it this fall.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I think, historical records of weather are not doing anybody any good these days, apparently. But at the same time, the risk of shutdown in December, February, etc., or January is, if there were something to go amiss where we were out for 12 hours in a potentially very cold situation, we might be better advised to try and take this option now. What we have, okay? Yes. How far along were we? Did we have a seconder? Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Motion's carried. None opposed. Okay, 12.4, Culture Days. Request for support.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Angelique? Sorry. Ms. Wood?
As you all saw, Bobby Bavenzi's presentation earlier, Culture Days is coming to Summerland. It's going to be at the end of September on the 29th, 30th, and 31st. His initial request came forward to council as a grant and aid request to use the Center Stage Theatre. And looking into the grant and aid funds available for disbursement, I discovered that the full allocation had already been made of the grant and aid funding. And in speaking to the Director of Finance, he informed me that the council decision taken at the time, with so many requests made, was that any request that came mid-year would be deferred until later in the year, which is why I've made the recommendation that the grant and aid request be denied, but that staff be advised to look for other ways to support Culture Days. We have lots of other opportunities, and Culture Days is a really great cross-town event, and also across the province, across the country. So it as far as resources go, Culture Days provides a lot via their website and advertising, but no money. So the ways we can support Culture Days will, I would think, be more limited to the actions that we can take as staff, helping with the publicity and promotions.
Okay. Thank you, and I apologize for not addressing you properly, as you're the Community Development Coordinator. Thank you. Councillor Holmes.
How much would the grant and aid request be? How much is it for Center Stage for the time what they want it for?
The total cost for the amount of time for the day will total about $500.
And of that, how much is it the wages for the sound technician?
I don't know that.
Would that be the primary cost, I guess, would it? No?
That's just a standard rental fee, which includes 8 hours of technician time.
Okay. So what would in-kind assistance be then? I thought we considered in-kind assistance as a grant and aid.
In-kind, we consider it a grant and aid when it's actually a cost that we have that you're not going to get the revenue when. So if we're not charging rental, you're not going to get the revenue. What we're looking at in the creation of the community development coordinator's position is ways that the community development coordinator can work directly with individuals and organizations. One of the things we've talked about are right now, because we have underutilized advertising on our bus shelters, for example. Where they're empty right now, there are bus shelters. It's not a partnership agreement. It's so we could, and they want the advertising. So because they're not used right now, and because we can react quickly, we can do that advertising for them. There can be some. What are some of the other things we've talked about?
We can mount their messages on the reader board. We can include it on our Facebook. We can include it in the newsletter. So help with the publicity and the promotions. But we've also been assisting Culture Days in networking within the community and getting the word out. So we've talked to the Chamber of Commerce and made introductions, brokered introductions with the high school. And, because Bobby Bavenzi has just moved to Summerland, he still needs help figuring out who's on the ground. So we're helping out wherever we can.
And I think that's important for council to recognize that the cost of a community development coordinator, the wages that we pay a community development coordinator is, that's the purpose of it, but it is an item that is costing money as well. But that's the purpose of why you establish this position, is to be able to support in that way.
Councillor Peake.
So we couldn't say in kind is a reduction in the rate to rent the center stage?
We've always held firm here because we have so many requests, and because of the that is our methodology. It would be changing in our methodology of how we record. Some municipalities, they don't. When they waive fees, they don't count it as revenue and then an expense somewhere else. But to make that change is more than just making that change here, because it's the way that we do it.
Councillor Peak.
We really were fully subscribed and above and beyond that for our grant and aid money, so I'm really sorry we don't have funds available at this time of year. But I think that the solution from the staff to look for in-kind opportunities is certainly one worth supporting.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay. Councillor Traynor.
I just have a quick question. When generally are the grant and aid applications supposed to be in for the year?
Well, they were granted out before my time in March, I believe. And so from what I understand, the beginning of the year. So it would have been January, February that the applications were received.
I think Dave can.
So I can answer that question. So for the 2018 grant and aid, the applications will be going out within the next 3 weeks. The plan is to have them open for approximately a month and a half to ensure everyone has the appropriate timeline to get their applications into us. And then once staff receive all them, we'll compile everything and bring it forward as part of the budget process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Peak.
How are we advertising if they're not already on the list, Dave, and they want to get a letter, how do they find these things out?
We will be advertising in the local newspaper. There will be it'll be going out on our monthly newsletter, as well as those individuals that did receive funding in 2017. They will be receiving letters as well.
And part of Ms. Wood's work will be outreach as well with the different organizations.
Thank you. I appreciate that iteration.
Okay. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I just think in the future, when we talk a lot about the arts and cultural being made widely accessible to the whole community. I think we also have to consider the theater and other cultural facilities in the same kind of category. And I'd like in the future that when we have an event like this, which is including a wide swath of the community, it's seen as a community event, and that the municipality ought to be a partner in events like this, and it's not, I just like us to get away of this thinking that we're giving something to a certain group when it's for the whole community.
On that note, Council, one of the things that we don't have in our budget, in our financial plan right now, is a fund which either is managed, now that we have a community development coordinator, or managed at a level that doesn't come for council when it's widespread, when it can be promotion of the overall events like that. And it is something that I have on my list to bring forward to council to be able to have some disbursements made where it's supporting community-wide events without having to have a decision each time.
Councillor Peak.
I would really like to support Councillor Holmes in those remarks, and I agree that a way to make this happen, because it is economic development, and when it's more widespread, I think that there's an opportunity here that we should pursue.
Thank you. Can we move along? Would someone like to bring that motion forward, please? Councillor Peak.
So it's the grant and aid request from Culture Days be denied, and further that staff be directed to provide in-kind assistance where possible.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Traynor, thank you. Any further discussion? We've had lots here. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? 1 of 2 opposed. Okay, motion carries 3-2. Okay, 12.5. Summerland Steam. Who's dealing with that?
Ms. Ingram.
Oh, Brenda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My information report is with regards to our local Junior B team, the Summerland STEAM, and they have put in an application for a special events permit. They would like to serve alcohol at their 26 home games that they have here in Summerland. First game being September the 2nd through to February the 16th, 2018. This is something new for our arena. We haven't had home games where we've served alcohol or had alcohol being served before. The STEAM's plan is to serve beer in a beer garden fashion in the north end of the arena up on the concourse. We've met with staff, talked about the what-ifs and possible complications, but working well together, we don't foresee any complications, and hopefully this may help increase the number of people who are coming out to watch our Junior B hockey team play.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Ingram? Councillor Peak?
Would those serving be licensed?
Yes, they will have serve it right.
Okay. Anything else? Someone like to bring that motion forward to receive, please? Councillor Trainer?
I will bring forward the motion that the report be received for information.
Okay, thank you very much. Seconded, Councillor Peak. Okay, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, 12.6, Blue Dot Movement Declaration.
Tammy Rothery.
Tammy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you can see from your package, this is an item that was brought forward to council some time ago and was recently referred to staff to bring forward and resolve. So we've done so by suggesting a declaration that council can endorse that matches with the original motion that was made in 2016.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Council, questions of Ms. Rothery? Okay, seeing none. Someone like to bring that motion forward, please? Don't all rush.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sorry. I'd like to move that council pass the resolution as presented in attachment A, which endorses the David Suzuki Foundation Blue Dot Movement Declaration.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer. Any further discussion? I think it's a excellent thing to be behind, so I'm glad we're looking at this, and it's in council's mandate in terms of where we're moving with our climate projects and so on. Councillor Trainer.
I was just wondering where people can find more information about this. Like, will it be on our website or posted anywhere?
Probably, but you can also just Google Blue Dot and you'll find
No,
out
I know
all
that. I
kinds
just
of
didn't know
stuff.
if it would be mentioned on our website or anything like that.
We have a climate action page on the website, which we can absolutely make mention of this on.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, someone like to bring that forward?
It's up.
Yeah.
Vote.
Okay, pardon me? Okay, all in favor? Please, carried and opposed. Moving ahead to the 12.8 RDUS Wood Stove Exchange Program.
No, didn't you miss 12.7?
Did I move?
12.7 will be
Oh, I'm sorry.
And Tammy will speak to this one as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, you're right. Ms. Rothery, 12.7.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you'll see in your package, we have been approached by the Okanagan Basin Water Board regarding a grant application that they are preparing for a shared climate action adaptation specialist, and they've asked for our support with that grant funding. In order to provide that support, we do need to commit to participating in the program should the funding be awarded, and that commitment involves 40 hours of staff time over a 2-year period, which we feel is quite reasonable given the amount of support that we would be receiving from participating in the program. And so a letter is here for your consideration to support that grant application.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Councillor Booth.
This position, Tammy Rothery, it's to help all local governments in the Okanagan? Like anyone that's, I should clarify that. So the Okanagan Basin Water Board, anyone that is in that area of the Okanagan Basin Water Board, would this facility, or this consultant, or what are they calling the position, would help local governments in the whole Okanagan Basin Water Board area? Is that?
To be honest, I'm not entirely sure if the program is open to people who don't initially sign up to commit, but I would be surprised if there weren't wide-scale benefits for all of the communities in the Okanagan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, would someone like to bring the motion forward, please? As stated, as written, if that's necessary. Councillor Traynor?
I will bring forward the motion as presented.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes, thank you. Any further discussion?
Question?
Yes, go ahead.
There's no further financial implication other than 40 hours of time?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very kindly.
Okay. All in favor? Motion carries. And opposed? Thank you very much. 12.8. I'm back on track.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Woodstock program.
This item, as you'll see in your package, essentially in that past, the regional district has administered the wood stove exchange program on behalf of the RDOS's member municipalities. And this year, we were informed that they would not be doing so, and for the 2018 program year. And so we're asking council to encourage the RDOS to rejoin that program for 2018 and to continue administering that program in the future, as we see some benefits for all of the Okanagan, Similkameen communities, including Summerland.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councillor Holmes.
Do we know why they dropped it?
We weren't given that information. We were simply told that they would not be going forward with it this year.
Okay, it's certainly something, as Councillor Boot and I are representatives on the board, that we can address this at a board meeting. So bring it up, which we would do. So any other questions? Okay, would someone like to bring that motion forward? Councillor Traynor?
I'll bring forward the motion as presented.
Thank you very much. Seconder, please. Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes, thank you. Councillor Traynor?
So we'll hear back then on why they decided to cancel it?
Well, they may not say why they canceled it, but we will write them a letter, and we will, if they decide not to reinstate, then I did speak to the CAO, and he said he would be interested in hearing if council is interested in having it continued, and then they'll probably poll the rest of the municipalities. I do understand that it was considered by their staff as a workload item, but I haven't got confirmation on that.
Okay, thanks.
Just if there is a reason that that's legitimate, then it'd be nice to know.
Yeah. Okay. All in favor? Thank you. None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 12.9. CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last year, council went through a process in which all of the permissive tax exemption applications were reviewed against the district's permissive tax exemption policy. At the end of this review, council resolved that all not-for-profit applications would receive a 4-year exemption, and all places of worship would receive a 10-year exemption. Now, based on this decision, the appropriate bylaws were adopted, which saw the district provide 2017 property tax exemptions in the amount of $121,000, $121,418.50. Now, as part of council's discussions, there were 3 places of worship that were deemed to have land in excess of what was deemed to be required to provide services. The decision was made where the excess lands had their permissive tax exemption reduced from 100% down to 70%. And furthermore, the exemption was only for 1 year, and that was to give staff the ability to come back to council with long-term recommendations. Now, unfortunately, due to various circumstances, me being new to the position, some staffing changes, these long-term recommendations have not been brought forward were completed. So therefore, for these 3 properties to continue to receive an exemption, an amendment to the bylaw will be required. Staff are also seeking direction from council on whether to publicly advertise for new permissive tax exemption applications. Provincial statutes dictate that all permissive bylaws must be adopted no later than October 31st. So if we were to publicly advertise, the timeline is short and we would need to do it as soon as possible. We have not received many inquiries at all this year in regards to property tax exemption. So staff is recommending not to advertise and not to accept any new applications for 2018. Thank you.
CAO?
Which was the conversation that we had when we did a multi-year intake, was to try to move to a multi-year platform and not do it each year.
Okay. Council, any questions of our CFO, please? Councillor Trainer.
This might be a silly question, but if we're going into 4 years and 10 years, can a group apply next year if there's a new organization that comes on? They can, and then they would just sign a 4-year if it was approved.
The initial term was 4 years, so if someone was to come in 2 years into the bylaw, they would continue on for those last 2 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Someone like to bring that motion forward as written, please? Councillor Peak. Councillor Holmes seconding. Thank you. All in favor? None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Again, 12.10, CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The attached financial results provide council with an update on the district's operations for the first 6 months of 2017. Comparisons have also been provided against the same period in 2016, as well as the 2017 budget. The results are in line with staff's expectations, and no large issues or concerns have been identified from staff's perspective. Staff is also working on capital project report that will give council a better indication on where current projects are at. We do hope to have this to council in the next few meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Questions? Councillor Peak.
I repeat, I'm thankful for the comment about the capital works projects, because that's one I'm most particularly interested in.
Thank you. Anything else? Someone like to bring that motion forward, please, to receive? Councillor Holmes.
I move that the report from the Director of Finance regarding the financial results as of June 30th, 2017 be received. For
Seconder, please. Councillor Boot, thank you. Anything further? All in favor? Motion carries, none opposed, thank you. Moving ahead to 12.1. That's petition.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this is just the petition that was received at the last meeting regarding the OCP and zoning of 13610 banks, and it's just for council to receive.
Okay,
thank you.
Okay, council, would someone like to bring that motion forward to receive, please? Councillor Peak. Councillor Holmes, thank you. All in favor? Carried, unopposed, thank you very much. Okay, moving ahead to new business 13.1. Tricia?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for the responsible dog owner bylaw, as well as amendments to the municipal ticketing bylaw, the bylaw notice enforcement bylaw, and the fees and charges bylaw. So the district's current dog regulation bylaw was adopted in 1996 and is very outdated. It's been identified as one of council's objectives for 2017. Staff completed a thorough review of dog control bylaws from several municipalities and has modernized the dog bylaw by incorporating new regulations and some best practices. The new bylaw emphasizes animal control and identification, basic standards of care and housing, tethering standards, owner education, and includes specific requirements on aggressive and dangerous dogs. It is a lot like Penticton's bylaw for ease of administration by the dog control officer who works for both Penticton and the District of Summerland. So the new bylaw, as noted in its title, puts the onus on the dog owner to care for their dog in the most humane way possible and provides staff with the tools to ensure that this is done. Rose Gingras is the district's dog control officer. She's here with us today in the audience. So she's here to answer any questions that council may have of her. So Rose, if you wanted to come to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you. Pardon me?
She's at the podium, but it's really just if you have questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of dog control person? Councillor Holmes.
I would just be curious to know how Summerland compares to other communities in terms of dog control issues.
You're just about right on par now with dog bites and complaints. We've been getting, like, the increase in dog bites. Sorry, the increase in dog bites it's amazing. We've used to get maybe 1 dog bite a year, if that. I have 4 on my desk right now from the last 2 months that I'm working on. So, yeah, it's our bylaw is inadequate for dealing with them.
Any questions? Councillor Peak.
So, in fact, you are very pleased to see an updated bylaw opportunity for us.
Yep.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I've read more than one dog bylaw. I think this is very comprehensive, and I know it takes a lot of work to go through the detail. So I want to thank staff and Rose for that.
Okay. Yeah, we have a long and colorful history in dog control. So one that we needed to get updated to try and have a better solution to things. Councillor Booth.
I just have one quick question. Thank you for coming here tonight, Rose, and sitting through this long meeting. Is this, our Summerland proposed bylaw, is that in alignment with the RDOS dog bylaw?
They're working to update their bylaw as well, so I can't really answer that question because theirs hasn't been put through yet, to my knowledge.
But it is in alignment with the city of Penticton.
Okay,
the city
that's
of Penticton,
great.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Ms.
Okay.
CAO.
Thank you. Now, I understand we need to bring each of these forward and move each one separately. Is that correct? Or can we do them all at once?
You can do them. You can just ask that all 4.
Okay. Okay, I'd ask that
If
council-
anyone will bring all 4 forward, but if they want to do them separately, they can.
Okay. Councillor Peak?
I'll bring all 4 resolutions forward. That is the responsible dog owner bylaw, the municipal ticketing information utilization bylaw, enforcement bylaw, and fees and charges bylaw.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes? Any further discussion? I think it's high time, not actually adds up to more than 20 years, so it's high time we've got an update. So thank you very much. All in favor? Motion carries. None opposed. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rose. Okay, where are we here?
14.1.
14.1, okay. Okay, bylaws, zoning bylaw text amendment.
So 14.1 is brought forward for adoption.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Holmes?
I'll move that zoning bylaw text amendment bylaw number 217-021 be adopted.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Motion carries. Opposed? Anything else? Okay. Probably should have asked more.
14.2.
14.2.
So this was the one 5418 Nixon Road. Dean will just speak to the subject, and then council can consider what kind of motion they want to move, if you want to consider it further after the public hearing today.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a brief on the process that takes place during a rezoning application. So the application is made, we refer it out to agencies and staff for review. We bring those comments together and then report to council, which we did in July for this particular application, and ask council to consider initial readings and scheduling a public hearing. Following that resolution to schedule the public hearing, staff prepare letters to be sent out to adjacent property owners within 30 meters of the subject property. So those letters were sent out at the end of July, beginning of August. And the sign is posted by the district. Our current practice is to print the sign and have it posted. So in this particular case, the property has two frontages, one on Nixon and one on Wharf. So there's two identical signs that are posted on each side. The purpose of the signage and the letters is to notify adjacent neighbors. All the contact information is there for the district for people who have questions or seeking additional information to come see staff. It's stated on the sign with our phone number as well as in the letters. Our email address is included in the letters, so we're encouraging people to come and see. So that's the standard process we have in place at this point. So those letters were sent out at the end of July, beginning of August. The advertisements went into the paper, and all the processes within the district's procedure bylaw at this point were followed. As far as questions that came forward about the application itself, the pedestrian walkway was discussed at a council meeting after initial introduction. It was clarified that there would be a pedestrian walkway included. There is a pedestrian walkway that comes from Trelfree down so that there's pedestrian access through Britain and would carry through to the Trout Creek Elementary School through this property. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, Council, when we were discussing this earlier, we talked about the potential for more public consultation and the option to reschedule another hearing, or we consider the third reading. So what's your wish at this point? Councillor Peak.
I would like to not consider third reading and direct staff for a public consultation process, and whether that's just ourselves or the developer as well.
Is that your motion?
Yeah, let's make it quick.
Is that, so your motion to defer the matter, to engage in public consultation process and reschedule a public hearing at a later date?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, seconder, please. Councillor Booth. Any further discussion? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I think we have as a council have kind of raised the bar on engagement. Maybe we fulfilled what's in the bylaw, but certainly when you look at the open house we had with for the Cartwright development, that went down very well, and that got the developer talking to the neighbors. That's what I like to see, is the developer talking to the neighbors, and maybe we can make the developer aware of some of the concerns. I think none of us want to see kind of a moonscape that Lighthouse Landing is right now, and we want to make sure there's trees there and all that kind of stuff. I think, as somebody said in the public hearing, everybody is okay with seeing something there, right? But let's make sure we get it right, and I think an open house with the developer participating would be the best thing.
So I think you're right. And I think, in line with the thinking that was brought up, it wasn't addressed in terms of a public, walkway, which was certainly something that we discussed at one point. So, I think it's critical to have that kind of engagement. So, anyway, we'll move ahead. Councillor Traynor.
I have a quick question about
Yep.
a point that was made in one of the letters that we received. Should I ask that now or wait?
Is that?
No, we don't have, if it's just clarification, if it was, did you
just
have
in
a question?
Yeah, it was just in reference to a neighborhood plan that somebody said existed already, and so I just wanted to know if Mr. Strachan could clarify that, if that is in fact true.
Very briefly, we don't have a neighborhood plan for this area of Trout Creek. The plan that was presented to us appears to be some form of a pre-plan that was done for a subdivision. It became mute, or essentially didn't work any further when the Brighton subdivision went forward, as well as Trelfree. So there was no connection between Johnson and Wharf, it's now been cut off by those two subdivisions. So that plan no longer works for this site. And this subdivision plan was brought forward subsequent to that.
Okay, thank you.
So we can vote?
So,
No, I had some questions.
okay. I just have to interrupt here. We are at, just a minute here. 2.2. Oh,
You're on your last item.
yeah. Okay, we are on the last item, but we're certainly not finished yet. So we need to have, can we do this in the break right now? Break in terms of, we're going to cross the 10 o'clock time frame is what I'm saying. Okay, so we need a motion right away to extend the meeting past 10 o'clock. Councillor Holmes, Councillor Booth, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, now let's move back to where we were.
Question.
Question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2 quick questions. Well, at least I hope they're quick. Somebody that came up to the mic was talking about I think RSD2. Would that be 14 to 16 houses? If it was zoned RSD2 as opposed to RSD1, would it reduce the amount of houses in there from 22 to 14 to 16?
That would be approximately the change based on the layout they have right now. They may amend their layout to allow for more or less, but approximately 8 units would be eliminated.
Okay, thank you. And then one other quick question. Somebody expressed the concern that at RSD1, that would be for a house and perhaps a carriage house as well. Is there room on an RSD1 lot for a carriage house as well?
A lot of that depends on how big a house you build. So you have a certain amount of space. So yes, it could include, it's an allowable use within that zoning district.
Okay.
You would have to design your house footprint in order to accommodate it, but it could be done as long as you had the foresight to design your house appropriately. So a smaller house with a carriage house would work.
Okay, thank you.
So can we second that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. And opposed? Okay, moving on to councillor reports. Starting with Councillor Traynor.
I have nothing to report, but I do have a quick question about the last item. Do we have a timeline at all for public consultation?
Staff will have to.
We'll have to chat, we'll have to discuss this week and see what the plan can be and how we can do that and what the workloads are.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Councillor Booth.
Okay, I'll zip through these. I do have a few things. On August the 15th, I attended a SILGA executive meeting in Sicamous, so we're working on resolutions to go forward to our UBCM in September next month. Obviously, it's next month. I had a meeting with a constituent about the organics facility that went for some time. RDOS meetings, there have been 2, 17th, 24th. So last Thursday, I attended a 4-hour forum in Penticton to discuss, there were all kinds of agencies there, to discuss the homeless problem that they're having in Penticton, but in other areas as well. We have homeless people in Summerland as well. I was fortunate to get a tour of Glenfir School. I went out there to have a look at where the proposed dormitory might be sited, and I was able to have a tour of the inside of the school, so that was kind of fun. And yesterday I volunteered at the multi-sport long course event in the medical tent. That was an amazing experience. It was an amazing boon for Penticton. And also the Feast of Farms is well underway. September the 9th is the date for Feast of Farms. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes.
I'd just like to say last Thursday, the board of the museum showed some members of the community, including myself and Councillor Peak, all the items they have held in storage. And they've got a lot of stuff, and it really kind of illustrated, and that's what they wanted to do, is illustrated the challenges that they're facing. And explained to us really that museums today are defined more by their collections. They're defined by the stories that they tell, what those collections tell. And the purpose of the Summerland Museum is to tell the story of Summerland. So, for example, the Summerland Museum has over 20 old typewriters stored, and not all of them are really that relevant to Summerland. They may have been relevant to some family members, although something, for example, the typewriter that George Riga used to write "Ecstasy of Rita Joe," it might not be the oldest typewriter in the collection, but it helps tell Summerland stories, and so it's not all our artifacts are really that important. And family heirlooms, there might be relevant to individuals, but they don't necessarily tell Summerland's story. So this is kind of a change of thinking that the museum really wants the public to kind of get their head around, and especially as the museum has been in the news a little bit lately about deaccessioning old items, and people shouldn't necessarily be offended if some old items that are brought to the museum that the museum doesn't want it if it doesn't tell Summerland's story. Yeah, I that was an interesting tour. I felt of their stuff, and very educational. And I just want to also say that the Riga Festival is on this week. From Wednesday to Sunday, there's 10 events, 6 workshops, 2 author readings. It's incredible talent, and I really encourage people to get out and see some of the events. You can go to www.rigafest.ca to get your tickets.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Peak.
I'll negate my report because I was going to speak about the museum as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we're moving ahead to the opportunity for the public to raise any issues that they would like to do.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dave Smith, 10695 Aileen Avenue. To be very quick, one of the comments missing from the report to Council regarding the compost facility is that they are going to capture all the rainwater for that facility, because they pretty well have to if it falls on the site. Capturing rainwater, well, this year would have been easy, but you wouldn't have had much. But some years can be very difficult, and when it is difficult, you can have spills that occur. When you have spills, it's going to go into that soil that's very very porous. Thank you. Porous. When it does that, we have to know where it goes, because we do have our reservoir downstream, but partway in between is that old landfill site it's going to go through if it goes that way. So that part of the hydrology, I think, is really important, that we have to know if that is something that we have to look at. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else?
I'd like to thank Ms. Tynan this evening for your remarks regarding public participation in municipal affairs. And, oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. I'm Kathy Smith, same address as the gentleman before me. I would also like Ms. Tynan to support your plea for respectful comments on municipal issues. And our right as citizens to participate comes, and to ask that anyone in our group that we're affiliated with, that our right to participate comes with our name attached to all comments. Anonymous mailouts that have gone out, graffiti or posts on social media where people are anonymous are unacceptable, and they do not promote a healthy community. And I know at the meeting that we had with 86 people attended, we specifically asked that all participants be respectful. I believe in stewardship, and I also believe in supporting our council and staff in the important work you do for Summerland residents. And to that end, going forward to the October date that you suggested, you'll bring forward the motion again. If there's any way that we can liaise, as I said before, with a council member working with the group that we're involved with. We certainly would like to continue to collect information and bring everything we have forward to you for your staff to consider in this decision you're going to make. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Sandy Paulson, 6502 Solly Road. First of all, I would like to thank Councillor Peake for attending the information session this past week with regards to the compost facility. Your input and participation was greatly appreciated, certainly by myself, and I believe the group as a whole. Thank you for coming out. Secondly, my question is with regards to the conversation tonight and Councillor Boot and her questions regarding whether there's two options or not for the fisheries. And my question, I guess, is directed to Mr. Strachan. Is the contingency water source still on the table? I'm sorry, I don't mean to belabor this, but is it still on the table in addition to the monitoring proposal that was presented August 14th by Lark Group?
At this point in time, yes, it's on the table with freshwater fisheries to review and respond.
Okay, so I just want to draw your attention to a Lark Group letter that I found in the agenda items for tonight's meeting. It's addressed to you, Mr. Strachan, and it's in response to the alternative to contingency water supply. That's the subject matter. The letter date is July 27th. However, it was submitted with the August 14th correspondence. The second paragraph of that letter says, as background information, the previously proposed contingency water supply option would have been provided to the district, who in turn would have supplied water to FFSBC for the hatchery's use. The revised plan presented below provides enhanced protective measures of the aquifer during construction and does not include the provision of a water supply to the district. So I think that clarifies it.
I'll speak to that just on that note. I think I just need to make it clear again that what Lark Group is suggesting is they're not suggesting in their letter right now that they're looking at monitoring and the backup water supply, contingency water supply. They're saying we've got this one proposal for the backup water supply. Are you going to do? And they're asking the hatchery, do you want to consider that? Or is enhanced monitoring an option that you might consider? So they're not saying that they're going tandem. They're trying to get some discussion going on what might satisfy the fishery. So there hasn't been any more conversation with the Lark Group on the pros and the cons and the weakness and the strengths until we heard back from the fisheries. So they haven't said to us, no, we're going to take that right off the table, and we're just not going to think about and look at that. They want to hear the feedback from the hatchery. So we're purposely, and what we said to council is, we're not engaging in any more conversation with Lark Group about it because it's premature until we hear what the hatchery has to say. So that's why we didn't talk about it anymore with council here today either, because we're waiting. And we talked to council. Even if we had heard from the hatchery today, we need to wait until the letters come. When the conversation is lagging because of this, the way it's coming, but that's all there is to say about it.
Okay, so I would suggest then that council and staff have more information than what we do than what's on the website, because the July 27th letter says the contingency water, this is from the Lark Group, says it's off the table. So
with that proposal.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
With that proposal, it's off the table. If the hatchery was going to consider that proposal, then the other
intake
yes. Is off the table. They're not saying that if the hatchery said we're not interested in this at all, they wouldn't necessarily, and they might, but they wouldn't necessarily not engage in more conversation about. They interpreted the hatchery's conversation that they weren't going to be satisfied with a deep water intake. Whether or not that's a correct interpretation, that was their interpretation, and they're looking for alternatives. And we haven't had any more conversation than that at the time, other than we'll have more conversation with them when we hear from the hatchery.
Okay. Their latest correspondence does say further to that letter, so I believe that is their position. It's off unless you know something we don't. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else, please?
Hi, Simone Kutos, 13514 Prairie Valley. I'd like to know where I can get more information regarding the special council meeting this morning relating to closed meeting to the public. And so it's 91E and 91K. How certain things may be closed to the public if they hurt the municipality in terms of negotiation. So where do I find more information on what occurred this morning? So this morning with a special council meeting?
So pretty much, in fact, every single council meeting night,
yes,
there's a special meeting in the morning.
Yes.
And it's a closed meeting. And the reason, it's the way that the community charter is written, why we have to call it a special meeting to go into a closed meeting. So every week there's either labor relations issues that I need to report out to council, or and that's as much information as gets posted.
And understandably for labor negotiation, but in this one case, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of municipal service that are in their preliminary stages, and that in view of the council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held public. That sort of seems like that could be an opening for what's going on with Banks Crescent. Or,
right.
It just opens a door, like, we're not going to discuss it with the public
That's right.
until we get additional information.
So that's a common thing a common reason to go into negotiations. But what wouldn't happen, say for example, the RDOS composting and a lease. A lease is very common to go in camera when you're talking about dollar values. But you would not go in camera to talk about that before you had an open meeting to say, we are going to consider a lease. That's open material, so I can assure you 100% that you would not be talking about that in camera at a meeting like this morning without having made a decision in an open meeting that you're going to consider a lease with an organization, whatever organization it is. And then you may go into an in-camera if you're talking about if it's going to be a $50,000 lease or a $75,000 lease. But you couldn't have that conversation before it was here, first of all. So
you
for
can
example,
understand our position. It
right.
just seems like there's a lot of dealing in the back rooms
Right.
that are not making it to the public. There's a lot of distrust,
Right.
and you can see why.
But there's only
So-
but there's other business that goes on in the municipality. We have hundreds of leases, and if we're talking about the rates that we're going to be negotiating on a renewal or something, that would be done here or in any other municipality in the in-camera meeting. We can assure, and all we can say is that I know for me as a CAO, and this council can tell you, I'm extraordinarily strict about what the community charter allows and what it doesn't allow, and we don't do it. And so if it was time for the RDOS organic compost to be considered, that would be debated openly, and then that council would then talk in camera about the rates. Yeah.
Well, it's rates, and it also talks about acquisition of land, and it's just a concern.
But all we can do is say that it was not the topic of conversation at this meeting or any other closed meeting.
It's just a concern. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else, please?
Good evening. Grant Thompson, 14119 Prairie Valley Road. Just a couple of brief points. I want to thank the mayor for giving your perspective on the compost/sewage site and your perspective and why you're thinking we should investigate this further. It's the first time I've had a chance to hear your side of the story, so to speak. And a thanks to Ms. Tynan for informing us and hopefully the general public about some of the darker sides of council and staff situations here in town. It's an unfortunate turn of circumstances, and hopefully that'll be the end of it. Also, on a totally different subject, I want to thank the mayor and those council members who made it to the Lakeshore Rockets Club last Friday for the, unfortunately I was out of the province and couldn't be there. Didn't pop up on your council reports, so I thought I might raise that. We did secure Canada 150 funding, and the minister was in town to do essentially a ribbon cutting and photo op. So thanks very much for attending.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. Council, I would like a motion for adjournment, please. Councillor Holmes?
Maybe media first, maybe.
Oh, sorry. Didn't ask for the media. Okay. Anybody else, media? No. Okay, motion for adjournment, please. Councillor Peak, Councillor Holmes, all in favor? Thank you.